I hereby call the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting to order on Thursday, March 27, 2025 at 5:40 p.m. Recording Secretary, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Jogway, Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Reyes. Here. Commissioner Wu. Vice Chair Zacarias Torres. Here. And Chairperson Herrera.
Here.
Records show we have 6 members present. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda, we'll conduct the Pledge of Allegiance. If y'all can please join me. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have a lengthy agenda today, so we'll try to do the agenda justice, but also be mindful of our time. The first thing on the agenda are the employees of the month. We have a few employees of the month that we'll be recognizing. Can we start off with Commissioner Jogway?
Yep. So the first employee of the month is Jenny Walker. Jenny Walker is a full-time employee. She's been with the city for 24 years and is an animal care manager. She was nominated by her supervisor, Ethan Fisher. And we are so grateful to have Jenny as part of our zoo leadership team. Jenny started at the zoo as a zookeeper in June of 2001 and is now the animal care manager, supervising the entire animal care activities at the zoo. Jenny brings an enthusiastic and positive approach to every day at the zoo. In recent years, the zoo has become more involved in assisting with placement of animals that are victims of illegal animal trafficking. And Jenny has played an integral role coordinating with our involvement with law enforcement, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, wildlife, and other partners. In addition to her hard work with animal trafficking rescue, Jenny also played an integral role this past fall supporting animal evacuation efforts during the fire season. These efforts go beyond the day-to-day care we provide for animals at the zoo and are very commendable. Thank you, Jenny.
Commissioner Nelson?
All right. Second employee of the month is Ayana Luna, currently serves as a program leader 2 at Santa Ana Senior Center. She currently spearheads our Spirit Week activities, gardening club. Ayana's creative talent promote imagination and innovation through her artwork, writing, and problem-solving skills. Additionally, Ayana's kindness, patience, and understanding has allowed her to connect with our seniors and build a sense of community. As a rising leader, she has blossomed into a confident individual who is not afraid to tackle any challenge. Her effective communication skills and ability to delegate tasks among her peers has led to many successful monthly celebrations. It is with great pleasure that I nominate Ayana Luna for Employee of the Month as her hard work, dedication, and compassion for others continues to amaze us. Good.
Commissioner Reyes, would you like to read the next employee of the month?
Yes. Our next employee of the month is Jacob Lambert. He's been with the city a year. His position is he's an animal keeper, Supervisor Jenny Walker. A large part of an animal keeper's job is to know the animals they care for really well. Jacob's desire to learn new things and his passion for the animals makes this a relatively easy task for him. In the year he has worked at the zoo, Jacob has researched the history of the animals, both the current population and future planned acquisitions, taken numerous online classes to advance his animal care skills, and has shown initiative when asking for more responsibilities. Recently, Jacob submitted a plan to begin training the PFOL group in the children's zoo to allow for less stress veterinary procedures, his ongoing commitment to the animal care team and the animals he cares for is why I am nominating him for the Employee of the Month. Good job, Jacob.
Commissioner Diaz?
The employee of the month today is Nayeli Carrillo. She's a community center aide. And she has been nominated by America Robledo. Since joining our team, Nayeli has consistently demonstrated exceptional work ethic and a strong commitment to improving both her own performance and the overall efficiency of the team. From the moment she started, she hit the ground running, quickly familiarizing herself with the job and taking on new challenges with enthusiasm and determination. What sets Nayeli apart is her constant drive to improve. She not only focused on mastering her tasks, but also proactively identifying areas for improvement within the workflows and offered thoughtful solutions. This forward-thinking attitude has helped streamline process and elevate the quality of work. In addition, her work ethic, Nayeli always is willing to lend a helping hand to colleagues, whether it is assisting with the task or offering guidance to newer team members. Her willingness to support others creates overall positive team environment. For these reasons, Nayeli has been nominated for Employee of the Month. Thank you, Nayeli.
Vice Chair Zacarias Torres? I believe we have this Employee of the Month here in the audience today.
Hi, Jonathan. Can you please come up so we can recognize you for your amazing work? So we have Jonathan Aguirre. He's been with the city for 1 year. He's an assistant engineer. When Jonathan originally interviewed with us, he was a recent Northern Arizona State University graduate with a Bachelor of Science degree in civil engineering and his engineer in training certificate. He was on the quiet side and answered questions very succinctly. His resume was good and his letter of interest was both strong and authentic. And as he was looking for an opportunity to launch his professional career and we were looking to build our team, we extended him an offer as a consultant. Little did we know we were about to hit the jackpot. Less than 1 year later, Jonathan interviewed again for the assistant engineer position, and we are extremely lucky to have him officially on our team. Jonathan is hardworking, resourceful, a self-starter, and motivated to succeed. In his first year here, we are amazed at how much he has learned. He continues to impress us with how he manages his heavy and very diverse workload and is able to deliver a high volume of quality projects. Jonathan is very clear and thorough with both written and verbal communications and delivers with a very calm and down-to-earth approach. Jonathan presents intelligently and respectfully, whether it be to client agencies, consultants, contractors, or peers, representing both the agency and city well. Jonathan is a model employee in that he is reliably on time, on task, skilled, dependable, and has a very high work ethic. Jonathan is very approachable and likable due to his calm and always courteous disposition, which enables him to maintain effective working relationships with everyone, including client agencies, consultants, contractors, and peers. In addition to being an all-around great employee, Jonathan is a great human being and operates with a kind heart, as is evident with his natural tendency to do things such as walking coworkers to their cars after hours, winning prizes at a city event only to give them away, and offering hand warmers to someone on a cold day. Thank you, Jonathan, for all you do and for who you are. We look forward to continued working together and seeing you advance and promote in the near future. Congratulations.
Yes. I know the back and.
We have our next employee of the month, Cesar Turin. I believe they're also here. Caesar has been with the city for 5 years. They're currently a general maintenance worker. Caesar's being nominated today for Employee of the Month for their dedication, leadership, and outstanding contributions to the City of Santana's Public Works Park Services Division. Born and raised in Santana, Caesar joined the city from an outside private contractor and has quickly become an integral part of our team. He continuously demonstrates initiative and a strong work ethic, going above and beyond in his duties. His determination to learn and master the electrical trade has allowed the Parks Department to confidently take on electrical projects. Caesar leads by example, taking charge of electrical improvements throughout our park system and ensuring our community spaces are well-maintained and safe. His commitment to professional growth and his ability to step up as a leader within his team makes him an invaluable asset to our department. Some projects include upgrading existing metal halide fixtures and tennis courts, handball courts, basketball courts, parking lots, and walkway lighting to LED fixtures, which reduces energy consumption, improves light quality, and extends the lifespan of the fixtures. Beyond his technical skills, Caesar's positive attitude and team-first mentality sets him apart. He leads by example, fosters collaboration, and approaches every task to enhance the quality of life for Santana residents. His contributions have made a lasting impact on our parks, and his hard work truly deserves this recognition. Caesar's being nominated as Employee of the Month for his hard work, dedication, and contributions to improving our parks. Congratulations, Caesar. Thank you so much, employees. You truly make our city very wonderful with all your hard work. Next on the agenda, I invite Brandon Salvatierra to provide the Parks and Recreation Commission with Brown Act training.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Perfect. Thank you very much for having me here. This is going to be a Brown Act training, which is a legal training. And next slide, please. So this is provided for commissioner training purposes. None of this actually constitutes legal advice. Next slide, please. And so our training goals today are to explain the open and public nature of meetings, which is governed by the Brown Act here in California. We're going to discuss some meeting procedures and also how to implement best strategies. Next slide, please. So the first goal is going to be to explain open and public meetings under the Brown Act. Next slide, please. And so what is the Brown Act? So the Ralph M. Brown Act is a California law from the 1900s, specifically 1953. And the key is simple. All meetings shall be open and public, except when the Brown Act authorizes otherwise. If you can think of it as a metaphor, the government's house is made of glass and the curtains can only be drawn to further the public's interest. Next slide, please. So what is a meeting? Now, a meeting is a gathering of a majority of members to hear or discuss any item of city business or potential city business. A meeting would require notice, an agenda, and a time for public comment. Now, unless a majority gathering falls into one of the Brown Act's exceptions to the definition of a meeting, it would still be considered a meeting subject to the Brown Act. Next slide, please. And it does not just include face-to-face gatherings. This also includes any communication or medium or device through which a majority of the body can discuss, deliberate, or take action on a business item outside of a noticed meeting. So some examples include emails, text messages, social media, Zoom, FaceTime, etc. Next slide, please. Now, meetings are required to be open and public. This applies to the government body of a local agency, which includes the city council, and any commission like yourselves, a committee, or a board that is created by a formal action of the city council. Now, this does not apply to ad hoc meetings with less than a quorum, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Here we are, meetings of less than a quorum. So there's two flavors. We have a standing committee and an ad hoc committee. Now, a standing committee is still less than a quorum, but it has continuing subject matter. There is no end date, and it is subject to the Brown Act. Now, the ad hoc committee is a specific task. Ad hoc, literally in Latin, translates to for this situation, or for this, I should say. Now, these exist for a short period of time, and they dissolve upon the completion of that specific task, and these are not subject to the Brown Act. Next slide, please. So there are some exceptions for individual contact. The Brown Act does not apply to individual contacts between a member body and any other person. So for instance, a conference call or telephone call or other conversation with any other person, including staff, constituents, and press. But individual contacts cannot be used in stages that would be prohibited in one step. This is known as a serial meeting. Next slide, please. And so, under the Brown Act, serial meetings are prohibited. A majority of members of a legislative body shall not, outside of a meeting, use a series of communications of any kind, either directly or through intermediaries, to discuss, deliberate, or take action on any item of business that is within the subject matter of a jurisdiction of the legislative body. You may not develop a collective concurrence. Next slide, please. The reason behind this is because it deprives the public of an opportunity to observe and participate in decision-making. Remember, meetings are supposed to be open and public. Now, there are a couple of ways that serial meetings can occur. Most commonly will be a daisy chain or a hub and spoke sequence. So a daisy chain, for instance, would be member A contacts member B. Member B then contacts member C, and it goes on until a quorum is discussed and taken action on an item. The hub and spoke, A sequentially contacts B, then A contacts C, then A contacts D, and shares ideas with the majority. Next slide, please. So here's a visual representation of what that would look like. Next slide, please. And so avoiding serial meetings, direct contacts about city business with fellow members are the clearest means by which a serial meeting can occur. If one participant discloses the views of the other participant to a third or fourth member, a serial meeting would result. Now, the best way to avoid this is to refrain from discussing agency business with a quorum or sharing the views of others outside of the meeting. So if one of you knows what another council member is thinking about a particular item, you should not discuss that with another council member because essentially you're not showing your work. Next slide, please. And so this also applies to social media, as we discussed earlier, FaceTime, Zoom, WhatsApp. And the Brown Act was recently amended to expand its reach into social media by Assembly Bill 992. And so while commissioners are permitted to comment on social media to answer public questions, provide information, or seek information, the new law clarifies that a commissioner may not respond directly to any social media communication made, posted, or shared by a fellow commissioner on an issue that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of their body. And this actually even includes digital like icons, so emojis, the thumbs up, anything like that. We also have Santa Ana Municipal Code on point for this as well. The CAO, which is us, the City Attorney's Office, encourages you to submit an inquiry if you have any questions on something like that. Next slide, please. So communications with staff and serial meetings. So members of a body may consult with city staff outside of a meeting for questions or information about a matter. Now, staff and commissioners should be very careful not to disclose the comments or position of any other member, as this can facilitate a collective concurrence outside of a noticed and open meeting and result in a Brown Act violation, right? It's that serial meeting we were just discussing. Essentially, if you share your ideas with someone and that person then goes and tells another member what those ideas are, essentially they've become your agent and a serial meeting can occur. Again, you have to show all of your work out here from the dais. Next slide, please. So there's some other exceptions. So seminars and conferences open to the public and of general interest, community meetings that are open and publicized, meetings of other legislative bodies, or even social or ceremonial occasions, like the opening of a park or something of that nature. There is a caveat, though. If a majority is present at any of these, they cannot discuss the items of city business or else a meeting occurs. Again, it's that subject matter jurisdiction that you have as commission members. Next slide, please. Now on to the second goal. These are for the meeting procedures. Next slide, please. So you have a chairperson. The chairperson, also known as a chair, is elected by the commission. Congratulations. The chairperson shall have the responsibility for informing the city council and or the executive director of the commission of actions or inactions and the reasons therefore. Next slide, please. So the basic format for discussing agenda items. So number one, examine your bylaws. You can ask your secretary for a copy of the bylaws. Number two, the chair will announce an agenda item and clearly will state the subject. Third, the chair invites a presentation from the of a staff report on the item, including any recommendation by staff. Next slide, please. Fourth, the chair would ask the commissioners if they have any questions on an item for clarification. Step five, the chair would then invite public comment on the item if it is on the agenda and being heard as a public hearing. It's important to remember that the chair opens the public hearing prior to hearing comments from the public. All public comment on the respective item is then heard, and the public hearing is then closed by the chair. The matter is not on the agenda as a public hearing. Any member of the public can speak about it in the general public comment section or period preceding the business agenda. Now, the public comment may be limited for 3 minutes for each speaker, and at the end of the comments, the chair should announce that the public input has concluded. Next slide, please. Step six, the chair will invite a motion on the item and announces the name of the commissioner making the motion. Step 7, the chair invites a second to the motion and announces the name of the commissioner who seconds. Number 8, I'm sorry, next slide, please. Thank you. And number 8, after the motion is made and seconded, the chair repeats the motion or asks the maker of the motion or the commission secretary to repeat the motion. The chair then invites discussion of the motion. If a lengthy discussion occurs, the chair should repeat the motion to make sure that everyone understands. This would be after the discussion. Next slide, please. Thank you. Step 10, the chair will then ask for a vote on the item. So yes or an aye, a no or a nay, or abstain. Step 11, the chair will announce the result of the vote and what action, if any, the commissioner has taken. Next slide, please. Next, you can have an amendment to a motion. So a member may amend a motion by saying, I move to amend the motion by, and then what they wish to change in that motion. A member needs a second member to amend the motion. The amended motion is debatable unless the motion to be amended is itself not debatable. This is a rather technical situation, and I would defer to the Rosenberg rules of procedure on that. An amended motion can always be amended. A majority vote is needed, and an amended motion can always be reconsidered. Next slide, please. Reconsidering motions. A member may reconsider any action by saying, I move to reconsider the vote on, and then naming the action or motion. This can be made only by the commission member on the prevailing side who has changed their position or view. A member needs a second member to reconsider that action. The reconsideration of a motion is debatable only if the main question has not been debated yet. And this actually kind of makes sense. I know it's a little dense right here, but this would prevent a losing, I don't want to say a losing member, but a commissioner who opposed a motion who didn't prevail on that from dragging on the reconsideration of that motion, which would then just run out the clock, so to speak. So this kind of prevents that from happening. So that's why it's written like this. A reconsideration of a motion may not be amended. Again, a majority vote is needed. A reconsideration cannot be further reconsidered. Next slide, please. And so for public participation, the Brown Act requires 2 types of public comment periods. We have a general audience public comment during which the public may comment on any non-agenda item. And these comments pertain to specific agenda items must be heard prior to the consideration of an item. Next slide, please. So there are some exceptions to the discussion of non-agenda items. So members may briefly respond to public comments or questions and provide a referral to staff or other resources. Members may ask questions for clarification, and members may report on their own activities, and members may request staff to report back on a matter or issue. Next slide, please. So we're here on the third goal, which is to strategize on how to implement best practices. Next slide, please. Thank you. And this is about courtesy and decorum. So one person has the floor at a time. Again, it's easy to understand why. If you're all speaking over each other, it'd be very difficult to move the meeting forward. The chair would first have to recognize each speaker before that speaker gets to speak. And then discussion focuses on agenda items, not on personalities. This is known as an ad hominem, attacking the person. The chair has the right to cut off discussion that is too personal, too loud, or too rude. Next slide, please. This one sounds easy, but it's actually more difficult. It's maintaining civility in meetings. So do not attack or question the motivation of other members. Try to limit your misunderstandings. You're up here to find facts, to determine facts. You're using a fair process. Listen with an open mind and focus the discussion on the agenda item that's before you. Next slide, please. Here's some pointers and tips. Do not engage in a two-way dialogue with the audience. Think of this as like a question and answer period. You're not doing a question and answer with the audience while you're up here. Prepare in advance of the meeting by reviewing the agenda and the staff reports. If you have a specific question or concern, you can contact staff in advance of the meeting so that they can be prepared to address that question that you have at the meeting or provide clarification. Being city staff myself, I can tell you that this last one is very important. Well, your staff here is very knowledgeable. There's a lot of things, and they may not know exactly the answer to your question, and it may ultimately frustrate you if they have to go back and research it and have to come back at the next meeting. Next slide, please. So here are my closing comments. Enjoy your time as a commissioner. You provide a valuable service to the city council, to the staff, and to the community. I sincerely thank you all for your service. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to direct them to the city attorney's office. My name is Brandon Salvatierra, and your staff can put you in contact with me through my email. Thank you. Again, it kind of comes back to what that last point I just was. Again, this isn't legal advice. I know that many of you may have questions. If you would like, direct those questions via email to me. I'll be more than happy to respond to you so that we're not, providing legal advice right now in real time in public. Sounds good. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Salvatierra, for that training. Next, we have the budget office presentation. Will we take public comments for that first or have the budget presentation? Recording secretary.
I believe just the presentation first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So next I invite Shannon McCarran forward to present the city's budget office presentation.
Please take a bunch with you and distribute them when you're out and about. I sleep with them. Just kidding. Hi, I'm Shannon McCarran, and I'm the budget manager here for the city of Santa Ana. And thank you for providing me the opportunity to discuss the city's annual budget process today. I'm going to keep the presentation brief so I don't put you all to sleep. But today, I'm going to provide a brief overview of the current year's budget, discuss the budget process and where we're at in the process as of today, and just listen. I'm looking for feedback regarding your spending priorities for the 25-26 city budget, which commences on July 1st, just a few months away. This pie chart reflects the entire city budget as of July 1st. Once City Council adopts the budget each June, the budget begins to change almost immediately. So to compare apples to apples, I'm going to discuss the budget as it was as of July 1st, not what it is today. In reviewing the pie chart, I'm going to start at the 12 o'clock position, which is the general fund, and go clockwise. The general fund, which is considered unrestricted or discretionary funding, comprises 55% of the citywide total budget. This is the portion of the budget where City Council focuses its attention. Special revenue includes examples such as the Cannabis Public Benefit Fund, fire facilities, and opioid remediation settlement money. The next one is grant funds at almost 12%, and it includes federal and state grants such as the Community Development Block Grant and the State Housing Authority. Other restricted funds at 7% or $52.5 million includes gas tax, which is funding provided through a state formula. And one of the reasons why everybody complains that gas taxes are so high, and various housing authority funds or gas prices are so high. Enterprise funds are designed to be self-sustaining and include services like water, sewer, and refuse. The revenue collected from these services is intended to cover the full cost of operation. Capital funds at 30 million or 4% are used to build, renovate, and maintain physical assets. Examples include projects funded by the Orange County Transportation Authority, Caltrans for street improvements, including residential and traffic system grants. And finally, debt service is used to pay the principal and interest on long-term debt. In 2024, the city paid off the debt for the jail holding facility. Before we dive in any deeper, I'm going to discuss the differences between restricted and non-restricted funds. Slightly less than half of the funding sources are restricted, meaning the city can only spend the money on specific services such as affordable housing or street improvements. The remainder of funding is unrestricted, meaning the city can spend the money on any city service such as public safety, library services, and parks and recreation programs. This is where your budget comes from. During the annual budget, the city council focuses on the unrestricted money accounted for in the city's general fund. This is what they're going to spend hours discussing in May and June. Santa Ana is largely unique in the fact that it has more non-restricted money than restricted. This is made possible by the local sales tax, also known as Measure X. Most cities are opposite of us, with a higher percentage of restricted funds than non-restricted funds, giving city council less discretion for spending priorities. The city's general fund revenue as of July 1st, 2024 was $406.5 million. The majority of the city's unrestricted revenue comes from sales and property taxes, which accounts for nearly 60% of the general fund budget. The remainder of the general fund budget comes from other taxes and fees that you see displayed in this pie chart. In California, raising revenue is challenging. New taxes must be approved by voters, and fees are limited to cover the city's costs. In other words, we cannot make profit from fees. On the reverse side, our expenditure budget, as of July 1st, 2024, it was $406.8 million. You may have noticed that budgeted expenditures are slightly higher than the $406.5 million in budgeted revenues. This is because the general fund budget includes $11 million in one-time spending for projects. This one-time spending money came from the unspent money in the prior year's budget, and we only allocate funds in excess of the city's reserve requirement. But however, it's important to note that the city's budget is balanced. But when we say balanced, we're saying that it means we spend less than what we receive for recurring programs and revenues. More than half of the city's budget is dedicated to public safety. When we say public safety, we're referring to police, fire, and ambulance services. Most of the general fund budget provides direct public services, which includes library, recreation, and community development programs. Some examples of community development programs supported by the general fund are youth employment programming, which is also provided by your department, homeless outreach services, grant programs for artists, and economic development initiatives to attract businesses and provide a favorable climate. So these are the top spending priorities as identified by the Santa Ana community in the current year budget. So this is when we were out last year hitting the streets, this is what we heard. Every spring since I've worked in Santa Ana, we've opened a budget survey to obtain community feedback on spending priorities. Last year, for the first time, we included an open-ended response for most of the questions, labeled "Enter your top priorities here." The topics we received represented a wide variety of just about everything, and a random sampling of these responses were sidewalk repair, parking issues, more programs for senior adults, affordable housing, and more housing. As you can see, the top two priorities are investing in homelessness reduction programs and investing in crime reduction programs. I have not seen these two priorities change since I've been conducting these annual listening visits. Every year, our goals are twofold. One is to cast as wide net as possible within the Santa Ana community. Two is to improve our engagement numbers each year. Last year, we increased community participation by 40% and are hoping to do the same this year. January 2025 marked the official start of the 25-26 budget planning process and the beginning of the budget team's annual community engagement efforts. Currently, we're almost halfway through the 25-26 budget planning process and are currently conducting internal budget meetings with departments from the end of March through early April to review budget requests and discuss citywide priorities. In May, City Council is scheduled to review the proposed budget, followed by a public hearing in June and the adoption of the budget at the second meeting in June. Fingers crossed. In terms of balancing the proposed FY 25-26 budget, we expect this year to be even more difficult because costs continue to rise faster than revenue. And a reminder that the city is operating under the following conditions. The public demand for services outpaces the city's legal ability to raise revenue for those services. For example, the Orange County Fire Authority contract increases up to 4.5% per year, yet property tax revenue is not expected to exceed 4%. To further complicate matters, the local sales tax is decreasing from 1.5% to 1% in 2029, and the city will lose more than $30 million in revenue at that time. But city leadership has begun to plan for that. Here's one example of how. We're making annual contributions to the Pension Stabilization Fund. The deposits made now will be used in future years to help us pay our debt service, freeing up general fund money to provide essential city services like parks and recreation. This helps smooth the payment fluctuations. I'm talking about this because as we begin the budget process, we have limited resources. Not everyone is going to get their wish list, and City Council is faced with making difficult decisions. We're asking for your help in prioritized spending because this is one way of telling council what's important to you and in what order. This helps City Council with making difficult decisions, and we're asking you to help us. Now, this is the part of the presentation where I listen and collect feedback on your top priorities. Our team compiles the feedback, and we are scheduled to present our findings to City Council in May. Do you have any questions, comments?
Thank you so much for that presentation for the commission to discuss. I had asked our executive director to bring this item forward for the commission to consider it and to provide feedback. So thank you for being here today and providing and listening to the commission. Do we have any commissioners that would like to comment? We'll start off with Commissioner Jogway.
Yeah, I have first, thank you for all you do. Appreciate the tireless work. I have a few questions, 3 questions. The first one, what's the difference between the Bradley Burns sales tax and Measure X?
Okay, so the Bradley Burns sale, that's a great question, by the way. The Bradley Burns sales tax is the 1% that every city in the state of California receives. It goes to the state and the state disseminates it. The 1.5% is like a local sales tax add-on that the city of Santa Ana voters passed in 2019, I believe, April of 2019. And that only comes to us. It's not part of the statewide formula. So when Measure X or the local sales tax goes off, we can only rely on the Bradley Burns. There's in the overall sales tax in California, there's also a 0.5 cent that's devoted for public safety. And that's in there as well.
Thank you. And then the other questions, how does the HVT and the sales tax compare to last year?
Sales tax is going down. It's declining. Which at mid-year, I think we reduced it by, I don't even remember how much, but that's indicative of a trend happening statewide. It's not unique to Santa Ana. The hotel visitors tax has been, I think it might be down slightly, but it's not a huge revenue source for us. Like we're not, unlike Anaheim, who the majority of their budget obviously comes through the hotel visitors tax. Santa Ana is fortunate that we have such a diverse tax base and we're not so reliant on one source of revenue. And that's one of the reasons why Anaheim was so challenged during COVID and we weren't.
And then, thank you. And the last one, how much of that sales tax is composed of like car sales? And how do you see that coming, with these tariffs that might affect the car industry?
That's a great question. So I can't tell you like on a dollar basis, but I can tell you in Santa Ana, I think autos is one of our top segments of sales tax revenue. And it's been down because part of the reasons are interest rates are high and the costs, I don't think, have come down post-COVID. We're hearing from the consultants that it's really too early to project anything of the tariffs impacts, and especially because every day things change. We are on the phone with one of the consultants today, and he literally had to rip up his whole presentation after yesterday. So, so their overall message is things are changing rapidly, and the uncertainty is leading to more uncertainty. And we don't know what we don't know right now.
Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't be more specific.
It's okay. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Those are
from the
great
commission?
questions, by the way.
Commissioner Reyes?
Just have a question. The non-restricted funds and the restricted funds, can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So when we apply for a grant, we have to promise we will only spend money on things that the grant says we can. So let's say we receive $20 million for a grant and it's for street improvements. So city council can't come in and say, I really don't want to spend that $20 million on street improvements. I'd rather spend it on library programs. I'd rather spend it on parks and recreation programs. If we did that, A, we would probably be ineligible for any future funding, and B, we would have to pay it back. And so city council, when we talk about unrestricted funds or the general fund, city council has the discretion to spend that in any way they like, except for the caveat that Parks and Recreation is unique, that they do have a spending requirement in the general fund, and it's written into the city charter. And so every year when we present our materials to city council for the June budget meetings, we have to prove that our allocation meets or exceeds the general fund requirement. And every year I have been in the city, we've far exceeded the minimum requirement.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nelson?
I didn't have any questions, but you sparked one regarding, obviously your answer to the tariffs and the fact that we're all gonna have to be flexible and is kind of refreshing. I think it was from my point of view, but with that, as we sit here, like we have to have this budget approved by, you said July 1st. I'm not sure we're going to be able to reach any more clarity than we have kind of now by then. So what happens if we don't know what the variables are per se?
Well,
whether it's cars or
right.
taxes and whatever, how do we navigate that as ratifying a budget if we don't really know where?
Right, that's a
our
good
revenue's coming
question.
from?
So we, first of all, we apply extremely conservative revenue estimates, and that's city policy. And so another reason is when I said the budget becomes outdated almost immediately, we also have quarterly budget meetings. And that's our opportunity to say, hey, we really missed the mark on this, or we're right on track, or hey, we're doing even better than we anticipated. So we can increase the budget for a little bit. So this is why we have the quarterly markers. We also have a reserve requirement that is 18% of recurring revenue. So if anything, if we just like COVID, for example, if we just get knocked off and we just all of a sudden have to come up with cash, that's one way for us to do so is our reserve requirement. And one of the options we are presenting to city council is asking them, do we want to increase our reserve requirement because of the economic uncertainty? And also maybe like some Measure X set aside funds to plan for when it goes away. So those are all kind of resources we have in our toolkit to adapt the budget as needed.
Thank you for that. That's reassuring. Thank you.
Commissioner Diaz?
I have two questions. What was the number of participants from previous years? Have you seen it being increased or?
Very much so. So this is what I've learned in my years of doing this. And I I did this in Texas for 20 years as well. You can't expect people to come to you. You have to go where people are. And so this is what we're doing this year. We're attending, in previous years, we're attending citywide events. We're going to neighborhood association meetings. We're reaching out to community nonprofits and going to them on the evenings, on the weekends, and meeting them where they're at. So the first year I was here, we had something, it was also COVID when I started. So it was about 200 survey submissions. Last year, we got close to 2,400. So I know in a percentage of population in Santa Ana, that's embarrassing. But overall, getting folks to get engaged in the budget is not an easy process. And so this is why we do things like come talk to you all, because you all are active in your community, you know people, and you can help get the word out. And this is doing it this way we have found to be the most effective, and blowing folks up on social media also helps. Anytime we post something on Instagram or our app, we get 200 responses in a day versus us going out. Although we got a lot last night. We went to 2 different events last night. Maybe that's why, but we got 100 responses last night, which was great as well. So I guess it's just hitting the beat and talking to folks one-on-one.
Okay, because the Santa Ana Unified School District, every school has like they called it a phase, like it's a community room. I would like to see if you thought about collaborating with those different phase community
We have.
resources.
We have, and we've had a little bit of a challenge getting in contact with the Santa Ana School District. However, we are doing it on a more local basis. So we're getting to the schools through the neighborhood associations and parents who attend those meetings.
Great.
And that's how we're tackling them. We're also scheduled to visit, because City Council asked specifically for like a youth commission or a youth forum. So luckily the folks here in Parks and Rec, we got to speak to the youth commission, but we're also going to Santa Ana College twice
great.
this month. And we're also scheduled to meet with Project Youth OC and one other group America on Track, to talk about the youth in those programs and a way to get the kids in Santa Ana to get their voices. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you this anecdote about one of the kids last year we visited with. They're with KidWorks. And he was like, parks with grass are boring. And I was like, oh my gosh, for a kid, parks with grass are boring. He's like, we need like playground equipment and stuff. And so that's why I think getting the youth input and feedback on the budget is so important as well. Plus, they're so much fun to talk to.
Vice Chair Zacarias Torres.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the presentation. What's the deadline to submit the survey?
Great question. So we're saying April 30th with the footnote or asterisk that we might keep it open later than that, depending on whether we want to get more feedback. And when we say April 30th, that's to give us time to compile everything we've heard. We literally take everything, put it in a spreadsheet, and then do word counts and charts and graphs. And that's what we share with City Council in May. So we might present and say, hey, at the first council meeting in May, this is what we've heard up until this point. And maybe, because we're going to have 3 meetings in May. And then at the 3rd meeting, we'll say, oh, this is what we've heard since then. So there'll probably be 2 kind of opportunities to present the findings to City Council.
Okay. Is the survey available in different threshold languages?
Yes, so we post it all and in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And then when you click on the QR code and the survey pops up in the right-hand corner, you'll see called languages, and you just select that to change the language.
Great. Will this great postcard be mailed out to residents?
Another great question. So yes, it is, except it's not happening in a way that you think it is. It's coming in it's in an insert with your water bill. So the shape is a little bit different, and I meant to get an update on that. Like, when is it going to start? But I know we finalized it last week, so it'll be happening over the next few weeks.
So my apartment, I don't get a separate water bill. It comes included with
Sure.
my rent. So what about my fellow neighbors, will
That's a-
they be able to get one of these postcards?
We can absolutely send them out. And so that's a good point. We did realize we weren't going to hit everybody this year. And so any way or any advice you have on how we can go out there to be more active in the community to get the postcards out, I'm open to those suggestions.
Okay, great. And in regards to the budget, are our city liability payouts reflected in this general fund expenditures?
Right. So are you talking about the pension liability?
Police liability, any other liability payments that the city does?
Okay, sure. That's predominant. Well, some of, I don't want to talk about anything without knowing for certain, but I would say some of it is, and some of it's not paid in the general fund. Some of it's paid out through like our insurance policies. And so those are going to be different funds because they're considered restricted.
So what about like police liability payouts?
I can't speak to those because I don't know them firsthand. So I wouldn't be able to comment on that. I don't know. But if you want to see like what types of ways we're spending money and our expenditures, our open book portal is available on the city's website. And you can see what we're spending money on by department, by type. There's all kinds of different ways you can configure to see things. We also have what we call a payment register. So every month we post any check we write for the city through the city of Santa Ana. You can go to the open book portal and find that as well for specific information.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for the information and commissioners for your questions. I wanted to ask about, or to provide feedback on some of the community engagement. There's the Santana Zoo, Santana Resident Day at the zoo, where you'll get a bunch of folks that are coming for the free day, you know, so it's like,
Yeah.
I'm sure folks are thinking about, I hope we don't cut the Santana free days at the zoo, but that's one way.
Noted.
Yeah, that's one. The other is we have a Parks Master Plan that outlined 43 different areas in our city that that are unserved or underserved. So it takes like more than 10 minutes to get to the park.
Okay.
So of those 43, 23 of them are highest severity of needs. So that took into account an equity lens with the CalEvo, living below the poverty line, race, and one more. But those 23 areas, I think it would be great to see if we can do outreach to those specific areas, because I'm curious of the folks that are actually responding to the survey, actually may just live next door to a park that may not see the need for a park. But if we're targeting these areas that are, you know, takes 20 minutes to walk to a park, then well, there may or may not likely be doing the survey, but I feel like their input would help illuminate some of you know, the needs for like budget priorities. And I will always champion, you know, more funding for Parks and Recs. I don't want to regress in that. I know our percentage, 4% plus 2% for the library is 6%. So to be clear, like I always want to advocate for our staff, for our programs and parks. When I'm looking here at the budget top priorities for 2024, 2025, if you can go to that slide, recording secretary. Slide 6. The one that shows the bar graph with the top priorities, budget priorities. Yes, here, I see that more programs and centers for youth is our third item. And then, you know, oh my God, way back here is city parks. And so, but I think if you add both the youth bar plus the city parks, it adds up to 27%. So I feel like maybe the way that that's categorized, or I see how it's kind of separated here, but it's also looking at it this way, it makes it seem as though the city parks and like youth programs are not a priority, but if we add those two, it's actually the top priority.
Good point.
So kind of, and then going back to like the areas that are severely underserved,
Sure.
their input may help to increase the city parks line item. I did just check out your survey. The way that it was categorized in terms of priority only outlined the programs that were listed for youth programs and community centers, but there wasn't anything for city parks.
There is, it's probably at the end, I think, like, it says something like, and it's been a few weeks since I've looked at the survey questions, but it said like, if,
Lack of green space, I see.
yeah, and I think there was something else about park lighting or, again, I'm trying to remember, like, I thought I wouldn't forget
Increased
these.
lighting.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, I see it here. Yeah, it was just in the upper questions that asked for the priorities. It wasn't included in there.
Okay.
Just only the youth, but if there was no room to incorporate another question, maybe we can just include city parks as a part of the language that talks about youth programs, community centers, and city parks, because I know, talking with the community, it's like, this commission's going to champion for more funding for Parks and Recs, right? So
You got it.
so that was some feedback that I did see. As it relates, Executive Director, for our budget for Parks and Recs, kind of how are you thinking about this uncertainty? Like, how is that going to impact the budget that you're preparing for the council?
So until we get like true real numbers, we are coming up with a bunch of different scenarios of what we can do to, make sure we work within what the numbers we get, but at the same time, still, hearing what the community wants, what the council direction wants. So it's something that is ongoing and we are already meeting about it.
I know for our programming, right, it's like striking a balance. Deputy Director Pagano has mentioned too, like striking a balance between offering our programs to be like low cost or free, but then also we're in an economic situation where we can't maybe have the opportunity to do that. So I think kind of not going so far into overcharging for our programs. I think striking a perfect balance of, hey, we need to have a little skin in the game, but then also make it feasible for our communities to be able to enjoy the programming that we have. We've invested so much in our parks and to not activate them, to be able to address homelessness, right? Like that's based off some of these things, that's the number one. Well, I would argue that Parks and Recs is number one. But if that is the second biggest opportunity, then we need to activate our parks to be able to address, and it's like, hey, these are our parks, right? And so I think I'm just sharing now, like from the mind, but I think it's important that we strike a balance, but also not make it so inaccessible for our youth and families to not have access to our resources. I also had another question, Shannon, in relationship to how you see Measure X kind of having that impact. Do you anticipate Measure X coming back in front of the voters, or kind of are we just moving towards that, the funds kind of non-existing? I know we've mentioned previously a park bond. As I mentioned, 27%. There seems to be a lot of interest if, hey, we need to invest in Parks and Recs. Maybe this is an option, but what are your thoughts on like where Measure X is going and whether a bond is something that can supplement some of the needs?
I know city leadership is having those conversations. I don't know the content of those conversations. And so I couldn't guess.
Okay. Well, thank you. And Executive Director, yeah, if it would be great to like continue to I'm thinking also about like sources of revenue for some of our facilities. I know that there was mariachi event that maybe cost more than what was brought in. You know, I know we're also updating our zoo for our concessions, but maybe I think thinking through some of those revenue generating ideas for us to be able to supplement some of the cost to Parks and Recs. And I think that's it. I think that those are the questions that I have for the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. You good? Okay, thank you all. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McCarron, for that presentation. Next, we'll have the public comment section. This is the time for the commission to receive comments from the public. We will not accept additional requests for speaker cards once we begin the public comment section. If you have not already, please submit your request to the recording secretary. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. For speakers on Zoom, you must dial *9 from your phone or click the button labeled "Raise Your Hand Now" to be in the speaker queue once public comments commence. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, we have one in-person comment. Scott Peterson.
And we will reserve our public comment minutes to 3 minutes. So I hope you can.
3 minutes. It says 4 there. It's all right.
My bad.
I'll keep it to 3. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Scott Thomas Peterson and Director Scott. My name is Scott Thomas Peterson. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm an inventor. I'm also a homeowner in Santa Ana, and I have a business in Santa Ana. So it feels appropriate for me to be here. I've actually reinvented a new racket sport called Torx. This is a Torx bird. We hit this with tennis rackets. You can play it anywhere, so it's very accessible. You don't need a court or anything. I've also developed some kind of lawn game versions where we can toss this like cornhole. So there's a cornhole version, if you will. And I've kind of have some integrated games that kind of develop foundational skills for kids and adults to learn racket sports. One of the blessings that has happened with this evolution of Torx is I'm a clinician, a licensed clinical social worker, and I've actually developed a cognitive behavioral therapy program integrated with the birds. So I integrate movement, music, mindfulness, and art to teach coping skills. I've been piloting at a local drug rehab with people with drug addictions and mental health problems. And I'm starting to get into I'm at the Costa Mesa Teen Center a little bit. I've been in Boys and Girls Club. I'm hoping to have a workshop with the Boys and Girls Club here in Santa Ana. So I had the honor of meeting Director Scott here earlier this evening and shared a little bit about what I'm doing. I actually have a class through Costa Mesa Parks and Recreation. But being that I live in Santa Ana and I have a business in Santa Ana, and Costa Mesa has been supportive, but a bit challenged, frankly. This opportunity presented, I'm like, you know what? I need to come and introduce myself to these people and share with what I'm doing. I truly believe I have something that can help people get out to move and connect socially. And there's so much division and isolation in our world now that I think I have something that could really facilitate people coming together, playing and having fun. I've developed an app that we use to score it and to track it. So I'm leveraging technology in kind of a new and innovative way. I see there's a browser button up there. If you want to take a look at my website, if someone's working the screen, I'll show you my website real quick. But Torx.tv is my website. So I have information about Racket Torx, Torx Toss. Armed Torx is my mindfulness program, my mind health program. And I'm hopeful that not hopeful. It sounds like I'm going to meet with you, Director Scott, at some point. But this opportunity presented to come and introduce myself, and hopefully next time you'll see me, that's the guy. And I'm going to blow this up in Santa Ana, and it's going to bring revenue. And one of my revenue models is that we have tournaments. And yes, where we can have prize money. I'm actually in the process of forming a nonprofit. So we have some different ways of kind of leveraging donations and services or providing services and ideally generating revenue for the city. I think that could be something that we could build into this process of how do we do this if we can figure out how to work with you guys. So anyways, I think I'm probably out of time. So thank you for your kind attention, and hopefully we'll see you out playing Torque sometime. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Recording Secretary, do you have any additional comments?
I did receive one additional comment if you don't allow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Sorry. Can you please say your name in the mic?
My name is Gay Olivos. I am a product of Parks and Recreation, proud product. My family has been in Santa Ana over 120 years. We owned and operated the Cine Yost in downtown Santa Ana. So we've been here for a very long time, and I love Parks and Recreation. We come from a baseball family, as you can tell. So what I have been doing the past years is I love the youth. I think that that is a way to keep, we have a gang problem in our city. And I believe that sports is the key to keep these youth off the streets. And I worked with Gerardo Mollet and Rob Richardson 20-some years ago in building a joint use agreement at Willard, which I will address in a later visit and send you all my questions regarding that. But I just came to introduce myself to tell you that I do volunteer for Parks and Rec. I'm a football coach. I'm a flag football coach, and I'm also a T-ball coach. I've been coaching now for like 5 years, volunteering my time, again, teaching these youth. So I love you. You're right. We need more parks in my city for the youth, but I want to make sure they are Santa Ana kids. Because what I see occurring, and I'm just investigating at this point, I'm just doing my discovery, the kids that are occupying our parks for their sports are not from Santa Ana. And I'm upset about that. The park should be for our kids first. I see our kids taking a second toll, our schedules being changed to adhere to these other sports that are not even, they're not from Santa Ana. So I'm upset about that. But I'm still in discovery. Let me get all my ducks in a row, and then I'll present it to you and give you a chance to come up with solutions to share our fields. I'm just tired of people, and not just outside organizations, coming into my city and reaping from her, literally reaping from her and not giving back. They take and take and take, and I give you tons of examples, but they don't give back. I'm a Santanera, born and raised. I love my city. Okay, so I'm here to help, but I'm also to raise my hand and say we have to wake up, because I'm seeing, now that I'm retired from AT&T after 27 years, I have more time. That's why I'm attending all these meetings, our commission meeting, Parks and Recreation meeting, city council meetings, and I'm like, okay, we have to wake up a little bit. So thank you for serving. I love Hawk. You know, we talk all the time, always nudge him a little bit. And so I'm here. So you'll be seeing me more often. And thank you again.
Thank you for our public comments. Recording Secretary, do you have any comments on Zoom?
At this time, there are none.
Thank you so much, Recording Secretary. Next is the consent calendar, items 1 through 3, which are the minutes of the regular meeting for the February 27, 2025 meeting, as well as the special meeting at the zoo that we had on March 8th, 2025, and any excused absences. Do we have a motion from any of the commissioners to move and approve the consent calendar?
I motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Diaz. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Nelson. Madam Secretary, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, motion by Commissioner Diaz, seconded by Commissioner Nelson to approve items 1 through 3 of the consent calendar. Commissioner Diaz,
Yes.
Commissioner Jogway,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Wu absent, Vice Chair Torres,
Yes.
Chairperson Herrera.
Yes.
Vote is 6 ayes, 0 nays. That motion carries.
Thank you so much, Madam Secretary. Now we will move on to informational items of the agenda. We'll start off with number 4, which is the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services budget. Francisco Arroyo will be presenting.
Good evening, everyone.
yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Good evening, Commission. Thank you very much for hearing me out today. I'm going to be providing some information specific to Parks and Recreation. Earlier, you heard from our budget office that discussed the overall city budget and their process. The information I'll be providing shortly is specifically for Parks and Recreation. Before I go into some of the financial information, thought we take a quick look visually of what the organization looks like. So if you look at the screen, we have the Parks and Recreation and Community Services Agency split up into 3 sections, overseen by the Executive Director, and under his guidance, we have the administration section, the Santa Ana Zoo, and Recreation and Community Services. Under that, you'll see the number of full-time employees. In addition to that, we do have a number of part-time employees that are needed to be able to provide all the services and that we offer to the community. That can range depending on the time of the year. Summer being the busiest, can easily have over 250 part-time employees than we would have in other times during the year. Going on to the next slide. All those services that we do offer require funding. And so for the 2024-25 fiscal year, we received general fund monies totaling approximately $16.1 million. Of that, $14.5 million was related to operational expenses and $1.6 was for capital expenditures. Additionally, we received funding that was brought forward from prior years related to capital improvements. The big bulk of that was for the Memorial Park Aquatic Facility. And going on to the next slide. As Shannon mentioned, during the year, we do have instances where we do change the plan that we adopt in June. And in those cases, we go back to council and provide updates. Fortunately, this past mid-year adjustment, we were able to get a little bit of good news in that we are anticipating an additional $350,000 in income more than we originally planned, which is great. That does help out the city overall. Additionally, we did make some organizational changes where we had some staffing changes where we moved a recreation specialist to recreation program coordinator. Additionally, we had changed from what we historically had at the zoo, where we would contract out veterinary services. We were determined that we would be able to get better service, more hours of service if we brought that veterinarian in-house. So we are with the mid-year adjustment, we were able to change one position to a veterinarian position. And in doing so, we'll reduce our veterinarian contract costs and we'll use some of that savings to cover the additional cost of the veterinarian. The funding that I spoke about so far is mainly related to general fund, but we do have some other sources of funding. Another major source of funding for Parks and Recreation is, if you go to the next slide, our Cannabis Public Benefit Fund. As you may be aware, a portion of the Cannabis Public Benefit Fund is intended to be provided for youth services, which Parks and Recreation receives, as well as the library. Our allocation for 24-25 was approximately $3.4 million. Unfortunately, during the mid-year process, we discovered that the revenues coming in from that funding source were not as we expected. And therefore, we had to adjust the budget by about $266,000. Fortunately, 200 of that was able to be replaced with general fund money. So the actual impact to us was about $66,000, which we were able to recover from. Also listed on the slide, you'll see the programs that are currently being funded, which we've funded for a couple years now, and we expect to continue funding in the next fiscal year. Next slide. So looking at 2025 and 2026, we are looking to be able to continue the services that we have been providing, but with those services, we are finding that the need is outpacing the amount of funding that we have available. So we're hoping that council will be able to allocate funding based on the needs that we're seeing for services in Parks and Recreation. Additionally, if you have seen the last council meeting, they did provide the city council some information related to city events. And in that presentation where they were looking for direction from city council, they did adjust our events budget where fewer events and also reduced funding for some events was presented to see how they were wanting to proceed with those events. And additionally, we're hoping for 25-26 to get some funding for some capital improvements, capital assets for our department. Additionally, we are aware, as Shannon mentioned, and you're aware of the future fiscal impacts that will be affecting our city, mainly due to the Measure X sunsetting. And our department will continue to look at ways where we can control our expenditures, find ways to increase revenues, and as well as I'd mentioned just moments ago, one of the ways of controlling expenditures would be through looking at our events, seeing which ones would be provide the most benefit. Additionally, which ones at a cost per person basis aren't as high as others. So we're looking at ways again to control our expenditures. And while the 25-26 budget isn't set yet, based on that information that was provided at the last council meeting related to events, it does look like we'll be seeing about a $380,000 reduction in our budget related to events. But again, that's just preliminary information. Nothing has been set yet, and so we're waiting for council to make final decisions on those items. And so as we go forward, we're hoping that we get sufficient funding to be able to continue with our goals of the city. The next slide. And those, if you look at screen, those are our goals for Parks and Recreation. So hopefully we are able to continue to receive funding and hopefully some additional funding to meet the increasing needs of the Parks and Recreation Community Services Agency. With that said, I'm here to answer any questions you may have on the matter.
Thank you so much, Francisco Arroyo, for your presentation on the Parks and Recs budget. Do we have any questions from the commission or comments or questions? We have a comment from Commissioner Diaz.
Which ones of, which event, have you guys seen that it's more, that brings the most community in participation?
The biggest event that we have in the city is the Fiestas Patrias, where it brings the greatest number of people to the community.
I think this time, I saw a lot more people when it was brought down to downtown Santa Ana. Are we expecting to, there's going to be construction right there on 4th Street where the Northgate Market used to be. Are we expecting construction anytime soon that we can probably continue to utilize
I'm going to
that
defer
area?
to our executive director for that question.
So currently, we're still waiting to hear if that development is going to start this year or not. They're supposed to give us an answer in April, which is this coming month. So if they are just not going to start, Fiestas will be in the same location. If not, Fiestas will still be downtown, as we have come up with a plan B to where it will remain downtown. It'll be a smaller footprint, unfortunately, but it will remain downtown. So we are just waiting to hear from the Northgate team to let us know.
Okay. Yeah, and I also want to, I agree with Chairman Herrera in regards to the mariachi event that was held down in the stadium. I think, I don't know how much money was spent from our budget. And I think that event could have been more successful if they would have brought a lot more sponsors than having, the city help, but it should have helped just with, just a tiny bit. So if you consider another event in the future, I would strongly suggest that they tend to get more, they should get more sponsorship, and, as the city and Parks and Recs should try to just, the amount of it, the amount of the investment should be a lot less than what it was for the mariachi. And what other events are we planning to have this year? Are we planning to cut any other events like what's it, the extravaganza? What was it called?
Yes, so for the rest of this year, the egg extravaganza has been cut, as well as our concerts in the park. And Juneteenth as well, too.
So the concerts, we're not gonna have the summer concerts?
No, ma'am.
I think I like the concerts. a lot. I enjoy the concerts. Was there any other area that could have been cut instead of the concerts? The movies at the park, how successful is it compared to the concerts at the park?
The movies in the park is more successful than the
Oh.
concerts in the park, and the movies in the park will return all 7 of them, which
Oh,
is
okay.
one in each ward and at the Santa Ana Zoo.
Oh, okay. That I like to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional Commissioner Jogway?
I got two quick questions. The first one, how is the revenue compared to last year to this point in time for our Parks and Rec?
For certain areas, it has increased, particularly in our park reservations. For the Santa Ana Zoo, it has decreased because we implemented a new rate this year where people who are on the SNAP program get a reduced rate. But we're finding with that no additional people are coming because that basically they're switching out paying the regular rate versus the SNAP rate. So
Kind of
as
net-
we were
net
hoping
even.
that we would be able to get additional people that would otherwise not come, but we're finding that the same number that dropped off for regular rate are the number that are coming in at the reduced rate.
So then, are we up, same or?
Overall for the agency,
Overall.
we're a little bit up.
That's good. And then the second question is, you noted some of the other ways where we could generate revenue. What are some of those ideas?
I'll defer to our director.
So one of the things we are trying to generate some revenue is with our 5K, 10K. We are now charging for both 5K and 10K, and so far people are signing up for both, so that's a positive sign. We have started the chat about bringing some potential events to the stadium in the form of boxing / mixed martial arts, but those are very, very early. My team and I met with a local promoter who did some of these events back in the early 2000s. So those are, of course, certain ways. And then, we're always open to other ways to do that. And we're seeing what we can do to find other ways to generate revenue. With that, like Commissioner Roberto said, without, really, increasing prices for the program for our youth and stuff like that. So we are looking to ways to do it. One of the things I know it may not be, mind changing, but like I said, out at the Santa Ana Zoo, we will start serving alcohol as part of the, everyday thing there. We do finally have obtained our license and stuff like that. So, maybe some other events out there to, benefit the zoo primarily. But when it comes to the Parks and Recreation side, we'll look for any opportunities to see where we can generate some revenue, maybe in some, looking into some sports tournaments or, maybe in trying to bring in some events, third-party events that, where we could generate off it.
Do we have any, like a database or something where we have maybe individuals that came from Santa Ana that can maybe donate to sponsor certain activities? Like I know the Clippers sponsor the basketball for us, that we can help maybe mitigate some of those costs.
So one of my goals and one of our goals is to start working more with our Chamber of Commerce and our Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, as well as our with Wendy from Santa Ana. Sorry. As well as I know, Tim, we want to start working with the OC Sports Commission to see how we can utilize our stadium more. But as you guys know, our stadium is 63 years old, and there's some amenities there that could be upgraded. So it is a tough sell on some things, but it's not impossible to still bring some events there.
Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions from the commission? Francisco, for the part on cannabis funds for 2024, 2025, I see that it was reduced by 266,000. Is the reduction of those programs or what can you explain a little bit more about?
Sure. As I had mentioned at the mid-year, the cannabis funds did not come in as expected, so we were asked to reduce our budget by 266,000. Fortunately, 200,000 of that was replaced with general fund money. So there was actually no reduction, just a different pot is paying for it. And that was related to a couple of improvements that we had at our centers. The remaining 66,000 was taken on by the Zoo Eco Center. We had some programs there that didn't get implemented at the beginning of the year, so we expected some salary savings. So far, there hasn't been an impact related to the reduction of the 6,000.
Okay, so it was just staff savings.
Staff savings, yeah.
And then, do you have a general understanding for why there was a reduction in cannabis funds?
My understanding is just that they're not purchasing, I guess, as much sales, and therefore the revenue coming in from the cannabis benefit fund revenue is less than anticipated.
Was there a reduction last year in sales?
I believe it's been reducing, and there was a significant reduction when they restructured the rates.
So the increase in tax is having an impact on,
There was a decrease.
we decreased our tax on cannabis?
Yes, city council decreased the tax rate for the companies. So I believe it went from I don't know the number, but it was lower.
It was reduced.
It was reduced.
Kind of has the opposite effect. Maybe. Okay. Because I guess you would reduce it to encourage more purchasing, but I guess reducing it led to less money. Maybe we can go back to where it was to, sorry, taxpayers. Okay, great. Thank you for, that was my question. And I also wanted to follow up on Commissioner Jogway's comment on what ideas do we have to kind of generate revenue? You mentioned, can you clarify a little bit more, or do we have any creativity on?
No, exactly. I think anything's, my team and I are trying to come up with ideas, utilize our assets we do have. One is a stadium. And like I said, we've started talking to, a promoter that used to do events there to, get the idea, get the, temperature of, what we could do, what we could possibly do. And, unfortunately, there is a cost to it that the city would have to do. But again, if we do it with enough time, enough promotion, working with, Travel Santa Ana, the Sports Commission, with our chambers, we might be able to get some, help within from companies that want to be a part of it to help support it, to help, boost the event to where people get eyes on, let's say, the stadium and say, hey, wow, that's a great venue. I want to host an event out there. I want to bring a musical event in there. So, it's as the old saying go, you got to, try it, be successful, put in a good show. And I know you're talking about the mariachi event, but again, we learn from it and we see how we can do better. And, we're going to try to put in a plan to present to our upper management and who will maybe present to city council to see if we can go about it that way.
Yeah, because I believe it was the staging that was it was a lot, right? That was the majority of the costs that were for that.
The majority of the cost was for the flooring, but unfortunately, when you have a turf flooring, you need to protect your asset because that stadium does get used by our youth, college, high school, football, soccer, about 300 days a year. So, it's a vital thing to protect that turf. And unfortunately, that's how you protect it.
Those services were being contracted out. Is there a way that we can buy those ourselves? And then
there was an idea to buy them, but the cost came out about 1.4 million, and that does not include staff time to set it up, tear it down, wash it, and as well to store it. During one of our visits to SoFi Stadium, it was imperative, and the guys there said that it needs to be in a controlled environment where you store these things, or the weather and the sun in Southern California will eat those plastic alive. So at SoFi Stadium, they're under the stadium in a controlled event or an environment. So there's a lot that goes into it. So if we were to have our own, which I would love to, but we would need to have staff to tear down, put it up. We would need a controlled environment building to put them in, forklift, all fine. But so it was easier for us to have a company come in and do it, where they had a force of people that come in, and it took them about a day to cover that field still, but they had probably about 30, 40 people working on it. So there's a lot of pros and cons to that.
thank you. Yeah, I
Yes,
know I
sir.
saw the staff report. Maybe it was a month ago on the city council, but thank you for clarifying that. In relationship to some of the staffing, as a part of the organization staff tree, Our Public Works, Parks Division wasn't included on there. Are we anticipating like any cuts to staffing? Maybe for their department or just generally based off your assessment?
At the moment, no. I do know with this upcoming council meeting, they are trying to add a construction team to that thing to help better assist, projects going around the city, have a more hands-on approach to it. But as far as I know, I haven't heard of any cuts coming out of the Public Works Parks Planning Division yet.
Okay, great. Well, were there any, Commissioner Diaz?
I have a quick question. Can alcohol be served at the stadium?
Yes, our council did pass, we redid the ordinance, so it is allowed now at the stadium. However, it cannot be during any youth or high school events.
Oh, okay. So that
Gotta be it's gotta be a 21 and over.
Oh, that might be a little bit helpful if you're planning to have any type of the events that you mentioned in the future. It could be a little bit more helpful when you have like adult events like the boxing and martial arts.
Yeah, and we do understand that, but just remember when you do have alcohol, it does come an increase in cost to having security and PD there as well too.
Okay.
So again, there's a lot of things that go into an event. That's why it is imperative that, we do get some really good sponsorships on boards and the people we do work with, understand what we're trying to do.
Okay.
And again, I think we have the team that is able to do it, but again, it's going to come at a cost and the city's got to understand that. And the people got to understand that. And I think if we could get to a point to where we can do it, but again, it will take time and, being strategic on what we do.
Yes. Another question in regards to Public Works. The team that you're probably planning to hire in the future, that would help in reducing the amount of outside money that goes to outside contractors? Maybe?
Like, I'm not too sure what the goal is, but that's the logistics of what we were told.
Okay.
So again, I guess maybe for the next time our Public Works team, I can get some more information on that from Executive Director Saba to say what that would entitle if you'd like to know.
Okay, thank you so much.
Commissioner Nelson?
Just a quick question. So you mentioned reservations were up since the new policies has been implemented and rate increases for schedule or the schedule of fees. Are we up or down from kind of the average over the last 10 years? Or where are we at?
So before the athletic policy got put into place, the fees were $1. They were very, very, very low. Since we did invoke the new policy, fees have not changed over the last couple of years, and there is a recommendation to increase those fees this year. So, but reservations, have been about the same, but again, they have increased now because with this policy, now we're getting organizations, we're getting groups that come in that, want to be a part of, what we do and stuff like that. And we really don't limit our fields as other cities do. So, that's why we do have the number of people we have in our fields, but it is troublesome because, because again, a lot of people do come here and even from, outside too, and it's try to have that balance of, Santa Ana residents first, but we do in our policy have the 90 and the 70%. And again, if they don't, then it reflects on the fees they do have. It will be a higher rate for people that do come from, outside of our city limits.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I'll
Right.
circle back around in the commissioner comments. Thanks.
Any other comments on the budget? Commissioner Reyes?
Just thinking about the stadium, how you have events. I was just thinking, is there a way that if you have an event, maybe a concert under the stars or whatever, charging, of course, the entrance and selling tables, reserving the tables for, more money. I'm just thinking because San Juan Capistrano has those. And of course, it has to, leave more money than spending. But I was thinking, is there a possibility that maybe something like that can happen at the stadium, to, do something like that, like a concert and, for adults, And
Yeah,
of
so
course,
that is the goal and that is the ambition that we are trying to take on. But like I said, it comes at a cost, and the biggest cost, as I mentioned, is to cover that floor, unfortunately. And, sometimes people don't want to take that on because we are limited in the seating we could have, so it's, 9,000 in the stands. And I believe with OCFA, we can only have about 1,705 on the floor. So we're trying to get creative in what we do with, like, say, maybe a boxing MMA fight to maybe bring it to one side of the stadium, have, seats, tables, like you're saying. And, those would, of course, sell a little bit premium as well as getting, the back seats we have on a stadium as compared to the bleacher seats. So again, we're trying to toss out a lot of ideas of what we can do.
thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director and Francisco Arroyo, for your presentation. I think this commission can agree that go on to the City Council and advocate for the budget for Parks and Recs. If we do need to balance increasing pricing for some of the programming, I think giving notice, hey, there's going to be a change in the participation of this program, I think goes a long way in having folks buy in. But if there's no further comments or questions, thank you, Francisco, for the presentation. We have two more reports. We have our Parks and Facilities Staff Report by Jorge Acevedo and Susie Furgenek.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Once again, my name is Jorge Acevedo, Park Service Superintendent, part of the Public Works Agency. Like with all my presentations, I really like to give everybody kind of a snapshot of what our guys do behind the scenes to support our recreation counterparts, the residents, just park users in general, and kind of in the spirit of budget and budget cuts, how we stretch a penny, how we do a lot of stuff in-house and how we want to, although we don't generate revenue, we'd like to really be good stewards of the budget we have and how we really make the most of it. We like to always remind ourselves how parks makes life better. So I like to keep that slide on there. So here's okay. So throughout the city, we got about 12.3 miles of bike trail that we're trying to, get people to activate. We do have an issue with a lot of homeless and transients occupying them. One of the things that our guys have been proactive on is just beautifying the trail entrances. Here you can see the corner of Sunflower and Flower. The guys, we did all the uplighting on those date palms and they also trimmed them. So that's a project that they took on and did it in-house. So Grasset Park, as of January 1st, I think last presentation, we let you guys know that we took on that park from the Santa Ana School District. We've now are fully maintaining that space. And part of that maintenance and renovation is the guys that were up here earlier took on is they poured some concrete pads. When you go see out there, you'll see some concrete tables, some concrete receptacles, and in the background you'll see the field renovation that the guys also underwent. Everything from detaching, from overseeding, fertilizing, aerating, and just kind of fixing the irrigation. Basically, you gotta go in there and just go and troubleshoot the irrigation, make sure everything from the simple stuff, from make sure the sprinklers do what they had to do, fixing the head. So if you guys have an opportunity to swing by and take a look at the park, you'll be amazed how day and night it is. Another project that we assisted our recreation counterparts is the American Connect mural at Jerome Park. The guys, although the recreation team took out the lead on having the murals painted, the guys took the lead on installing the mural on the recently repainted Jerome Community Center. So, if you haven't seen that piece of art, it's beautiful. And once again, kudos to the team for putting it on. Another example of how we're doing a lot of the work in-house. Our Caesar is one of the leads in upgrading what we're doing is upgrading our lighting in our parking lots. Jerome, Windsor are a few examples of upgrades to the parking lot to increase just everything from visibility to just sustainability, because those LED light fixtures require less maintenance and then consume less energy. So good job on that. As we talk about the stadium and how we want to bring in new vendors and new entice new promoters and groups, the general maintenance team, which was up here also, was able to stretch our dollar, and by them taking on the demo of the seating on the west side of the stadium, and now we're able to replace them with brand new seats. So kudos to them. Like I said, it's hopefully another way to entice promoters and increase hopefully foot traffic, and then hopefully revenue for recreation team. And in the spirit of opening day, I'm not sure how the Dodgers and Angels did, but I know our youth are also very excited to hold their opening days throughout the city. A lot of our guys put a lot of work into our fields, everything from make sure that I don't know if you guys ever. Me, I play baseball, so I love the smell of freshly mowed grass and then freshly watered infield. So, kudos to all the preparation work to host all the little leagues around the city. So with that, does anybody have any questions for me?
Any comments or questions? Commissioner Diaz?
Hello, Jorge.
Hi.
I do have a question. In the stadium seating, is there anything gonna be done on the red seating? The red ones? The red,
We replaced the entire west side of the stadium. They're all brand new seats. Yeah, all brand new seats. Now we are gathering costs to do the visitor side, but that's still in the preliminary phase.
we'll charge extra to the visitors.
And they all have number seats, so they have some numbers on the seats. We'll let recreation do whatever they wish with that. So,
Oh, thank you.
I know Mater Dei will appreciate that, and I know, it's home to many, not just Mater Dei, Santa Ana College, Unified.
College too,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, I appreciate it. Sometimes when you used to sit on those, you didn't know they were broken. When you sit on it and
Yep,
getting up
yep.
is tough. But I also wanted to ask you a quick question in regards to I was able to see the opening day.
Yeah.
That is for, I think, was it Santa Ana Pony? Maybe, or-
Took a couple of pictures from El Salvador, river views on the screen, but I think all the leagues had their opening. There's just not a particular picture of anybody.
The way that we also do it at NISO, Northeast, because I have my little one in Northeast, the parents come back and we do beautification day, kind of like we give back, for allowing us to use the fields. Do you have anything like that for any of the parks for, let's say, for example, for the different teams, let's say Salvador Park, if the team uses that park, do they also give back by helping the city, like having a beautification day in which the parents and the team, that kind of might help in regards to reducing the costs? And that should be something should be a requirement for at least 3 times throughout the season for the parents to get back on beautifying it so that we can reduce city costs.
That's a great idea, and I think I could work with my counterparts on putting something together. I could speak on behalf of the Riverview Little League. We did supply a lot of the paint, and they took it upon themselves to paint the backstops. So I know that's something we kind of worked with them, and we could definitely open that to any other leagues.
Yeah, because the kids also help out. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like teaching them a way of giving back, but it's also like coming together.
Yeah, and then just take ownership for the field. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you so much.
Any other comments?
Nice.
Superintendent, thank you for your presentation. I think you're setting a model for how we, sorry. Vice Chair Zacarias Torres? Maybe I should have a button up here.
Hi, good evening. I know that the My Santa Ana app was supposed to be translated to Spanish. Do we know when that's going to happen?
I believe from the last update I have is May, June is when the IT gave us the last update. But that's ran through our IT department, so it's dependent on them. But that's, I know they're working on that for sure.
Okay, and I see that the dog park is a project that's still ongoing. Do we know when that's expected to be completed?
I could defer to my park planning counterpart here. But,
Okay.
you know, it just got approved at council last week. So I know we're holding kickoff meetings. So we're creating the schedule to be able to present that to you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Superintendent, for your presentation. As I was saying, I like the visuals. It's very helpful. And yes, parks do make life better. I agree with you. In relationship to Me Encanta Santana, I know that you'll probably be giving your update May.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you have any like plans for that or if you can share an update on that.
That's a great question. I know we're not doing Me Encanta, but we are doing Arborist Day or Earth Day, April 7th, Arbor Day, April 19th, 17th. I think we could share that with the commission later, but the goal is to have a tree planting ceremony in each ward. We're kind of finalizing the details, but we are going to need some support from the community in order to accomplish that, because it's going to be a challenging to have that throughout the city on one day. So I think we're having a flyer put together, and they could share that with the commission and the public.
Nice. These tree plantings are so nice and
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it's tentatively scheduled for April 19th, and information will be coming soon on that.
I know I participated previously in a tree
Mhm.
planting event in Ward 3. And then as a comment, I had mentioned also with Commissioner Jogway, right there at Rosita Park, adjacent to it is Rosita Elementary. We used to have a partnership that we had the parking lot available. What's happening right now is with the park is being activated, which is good, but a lot of the parking is kind of making its way onto the street. And before, well, growing up in the neighborhood, like the park, the school's parking lot was available for people to park there. So it's just becoming, I know it's like, it's, hey, well, it's what park, it's what's available. But maybe if we can communicate with GGUSD about like, if we can use that. I know they push back on like folks not going onto campus, but the parking lot itself is closed off from the actual school. So you can have the parking lot open without having to have the school open. So just a comment that as I drive there every day, I'm like, I mean, everyone's slowing down, right?
Yeah.
But if some of the folks in the cars can move, it will maybe less accidents. I don't know if there's been any, but I don't think so. But it's just something that we used to have in the past that I don't know what happened. But
Yeah. I think we'll take that comment down. I know we're working with the school districts on joint use language and agreements. And I think we're compiling all those details, and I think we could. write
Yeah,
those down.
Commissioner Chair, that school is actually part of Garden Grove. So again, would need to reach out to that school district. So
yeah.
we'll see what we can do on that one.
Walter, okay. Great, okay. And those are my comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Next, we have additional planning updates, presentation updates with Susie.
Good evening. Commission Chair Herrera, Commissioners, it's good to see you all again. So I have my PowerPoint presentation tonight was prepared for the Youth Commission, who I presented to for the first time. And so I thought we're just going to bring it over and we can zoom out a little bit and kind of revisit what my team does. But first, I want to say, if I could tack on to the Parks Make Life Better mantra, park services are essential services and the benefits of parks and recreation are endless. So it's a three-part. Park Services, as you know, is part of Public Works. We're in the Park Fleet and Facilities and Refuse Division. We're kind of like a fruit salad, but it's amazing how much how we are finding little nexuses with one another. So it's really actually kind of cool. So Park Services is Georgia's team park maintenance and my team park planning. Next slide. And together we touch nearly every park in this city. And Hawk recently pointed out to me that we need to add a red dot for Grissett Park. So we're really spreading ourselves around. This is my team, the park planning team. And I really appreciate the comment earlier about, cuts and, oh my God, are we going to lose anybody? And, haven't heard anything because, and I'm, being hopeful here because the park planning team, the park planning and design team existed for years and years and years. And in 2009, it was disbanded when the economy tanked. And over the last 3 years, finally made headway in rebuilding it. And I'm just so thrilled that we have the team today. 2 assistant park planners, 2 assistant engineers. We have an engineering intern, we have a contracts administrator, and a management aide. So very, very important that we maintain this. What we do, well, ultimately what we do is we strive to implement the parks master plan. But in doing that, it's kind of a balance of what we call current and advanced planning. Current planning is here and now. It's design, projects that are on the boards. It's community outreach. It's projects that are under construction. It's coordination between agencies, between divisions, developing standards. Advanced planning speaks to more long-range adhering to the initiatives in the park master plan, looking at potential acquisition sites, park master planning within the existing parks, environmental studies. We coordinate the general plan, the open space element with the planning team, grants. Lots of work with grants. We look for them, we apply for them, we use the money to build things, and we manage them. We coordinate with the Trust for Public Lands. Trust for Public Lands has they work with the 100 most dense cities in the US, which we are one of. Every year we do a survey, or they survey us, and then they give us a ranking, and we are close to getting an update. I'll probably have an update for you at the next meeting. And finally, we manage the cell tower agreement program, which I'll get into a little bit more. Here's a slide of us doing community outreach. The top 2 pictures were at the Willard. We're with the Willard Neighborhood Association, planning the new park, asking for the input from the youth for the new park at 10th and Flower Street. The lower left is a workshop that we did at McFadden Intermediate School with the students when we were planning the Memorial Aquatics facility. And then lower right is an image of a planning session with the Logan Neighborhood Association when we were planning the new Logan Center and the reimagination of Chepas Park. So current planning, again, is mainly design and construction. In design right now, we have the Santiago Park Phase 3, which is the east end of the park. We're going to do a habitat and trail renovation project. The Logan Park, Logan Center and Chepas Park reimagining, Walnut Street urban greening, Cypress Center, Thornton Lake renovation, Portola Park splash pad, Corbin Center redevelopment, Edna Park restroom. These are all projects that are in design right now. In construction, the Centennial Lake is underway, and hopefully we'll be wrapping up this by the summer. Santa Anita Park and Center reimagining is in construction. Gerardo Moet Park, completed. Santiago Park Phase 2, the new park at 10th and Flower Street. We put 4 new restrooms in last year. El Salvador restroom is currently under renovation. The Memorial Aquatic Center is currently under renovation, and the Centennial Dog Park is getting ready to begin. And we'll just go quickly through some images here that you've seen before. This is Santiago Park Phase 3. We're at 90%. This is going to be a shelf-ready project. We're planning to submit a grant request to the State Coastal Conservancy for construction dollars. Next slide. This is the site layout for the Chepas Park reimagining. And the next image is a rendering of the Logan Center, the proposed new Logan Center. This is a photo of Gerardo Moet Park, recently completed, and from what I understand, it's quite popular. Santa Anita Center, here is a rendering of what it will look like, currently underway. I believe that there is going to be an open site meeting next Friday. And we're currently working with the general contractor to see if they can work Saturdays so that we can accelerate the schedule a bit. Memorial Aquatic Center is currently under construction, and we're having a groundbreaking event a week from Saturday on the 5th. Santiago Park Phase 2 is currently under construction, probably looking at a summer completion. This portion of Santiago Park was funded entirely by the State Coastal Conservancy, and we're crossing our fingers that we can look to them for the next phase. The Centennial Dog Park, we have a tentative start date of, I believe it's April the 28th. We had a pre-construction meeting. We met the contractor. The meeting went very well. Crossing our fingers, we got a very good first impression. What else was I going to say? We are the next, we're receiving submittals. We requested what we call a schedule of values from the contractor, which is an itemized list of all the components that make up the project. What are those individual charges? We're going to be scheduling an on-site meeting with them probably within the next couple of weeks. And as I said, we'll be hopefully kicking off at the end of April. So we're really, really excited. This is the new park at 10th and Flower Street that we talk about all the time. It's really, really exciting. The street closure is complete. The cul-de-sac is complete. The hybrid beacon and the crosswalk is currently underway. And we actually were able to get some portions of the park project implemented as part of the street project. We brought the water service in. We were able to abandon the sewer. We had to abandon part of the gas service and reconnect that one existing residence. We were able to do that. And the concrete walkways at the top there of the image were, we made a request to see if we can get those also constructed as part of this first phase. So get a little head start. Okay, so advanced planning. As I mentioned, this is more long range, little farther out, concept planning, master planning. Right now in concept planning, we just kicked off our first community meeting to get public input for the new park that's going to be at First and Mountain View Street. We're going to be, scheduling more of those meetings. Grisette Park, this is really kind of exciting because this is a 6.5 acre site. It's a community park-sized park. And big first step, taking ownership back from the school district, and George now has it open and it is functioning as a city park. Our team is going to lead an effort to do concept planning to what's the long-range development going to look like for this park. We want to have a series of community meetings. We had a kickoff meeting with Greenville Elementary, which is right next door, at their parent-teacher meeting to get some initial comments and input. We're going to be scheduling a on-site walkthrough within the next couple of weeks, and then we'll be conducting additional community meetings, and our goal is to have a finalized concept by the end of the year. Stadium seating, adding seating to the stadium to be able to accommodate more people, to make it more viable for to make it a more attractive venue, a more be able to get sorry, I'm losing my words here. To be able to better utilize it and bring in bigger, to attract different users and hopefully increase revenues there. Master planning exercises, we're looking at, we have retained a consultant to look at the whole Bristol Street from city limit to city limit to see what opportunities exist there for open space. Warnerdale High Linear Park is a vision of what we can do with remnant parcels that resulted for a street widening project. We went through a process, we brought in a consultant, we went through a process of having community meetings and collecting input. We developed some concepts. And a few weeks ago, we applied for a state grant, and I just got word this morning that they want to set up a meeting next week to learn more about it. So that's a step in the right direction. Pretty exciting. We put together we had been asked to put together a request for proposals to bring a consultant on to do a feasibility study for the potential of a park in the Washington Square neighborhood. There are some vacant parcels. I believed we toured them at the Parks Tour a year or so ago. We're also looking at a pavement management plan so that we can get on a regular schedule of recapping, resealing, resolering our parking lots. So cell tower management. This is something that I was assigned back in 2022. And I had this was all new to me. And when I started looking at the agreements, and there are 17 of them right now, we have cell towers, 17 cell tower agreements. And when I started going through them all, I was like, oh goodness, they all, it was like a 10-year period when they all developed, and all of the agreements looked a little bit different. All the information was kind of in different places. Many of the carriers had bought each other out. There were third parties managing some of them, so it was really hard to understand what was going on. So I took a step back and said, you know what? The first thing we need to do is maybe draft a new agreement for template. So let's form a steering committee. So we brought on a consultant. And one of the members of that team has been on both sides of the cell tower industry. He actually worked for companies, and he's now on the other side managing them. So he brings a lot of knowledge. We involved our city attorney's office. We had Frank from Parks and Rec, and we formed a steering committee, and we went through a process to develop a template so that they could all look the same, so that as we renewed these agreements, they we were looking for opportunities also to capture missed revenues. So, looking the same, including language that might not have been there before, like co-locating. Dish wants to come and co-locate on the towers. There was nothing in there for us to collect on those revenues. If the towers were owned by T-Mobile and they decided to have Dish come to town, there was nothing in those agreements where we could benefit from any of those additional revenues. That's in there now. If they co-locate, we get 50% of those revenues. If they co-locate and they require a little bit more ground area, there is a formula for how much we will collect on that. We are increasing our escalation rate from 3% to 4%, and we are establishing a base rate for any new companies that we're able to draw in. So we just recently, there were 3 agreements that just went to City Council and were approved with the company Crown Castle, who's the third-party manager. 2 of those sites have Dish co-location. So we will, be collecting additional revenues for that. And then going forward, we now have a template for the renewals that are going to be coming up. We have a template in place for, going after new locations. So this is, and then we're going to be also drafting a guideline for wireless facilities for parks. It's going to align with the one that planning has in the public or on private development. So we want to align with that, but we want it to be tailored for parks. So anyway, a lot of work there, but we made major headway, major ground. So really happy with that. So let me keep going. Okay, so this was one of the advanced planning projects that I just talked about. This is First Mountain View Park. We have about a 1 acre section right at First Street that we're starting community outreach to get input. The next slide is Grissett Park, which I spoke about a few minutes ago. Again, really exciting opportunity, 6.5 acres. It's a community park. So this is going to be, we can do a lot here going forward. And then this is the Warner-Delhi concept plan for those remnant parcels and connection to Delhi Street. And yeah, and then there is more.
That was the general update.
That was the general update. We
Okay, so
have,
this next presentation, I had worked with Susie to develop. At our previous commission meeting, I talked about a community engagement policy in relationship to our capital improvement projects. So Susie, thank you.
okay, you can go one more. Okay. So there's just 2 slides. We're just getting started. One is where we are, and the next slide is going to be where we're going. So we've had a few meetings, Commissioner Chair Herrera and Commissioner Zacarias Torres and myself. And some of the things that we discussed initially were what are our current standard operating procedures and how can we append it? We reviewed our municipal code and are going to be recommending an update to include and define community engagement as it relates to park development. And then we identified the related actions that are within the general plan, open space element, and the parks master plan. And there are 3, or actually 4. In the general plan, open space element, there's a policy that speaks to community involvement and volunteerism. And then there's 2 implementation actions, one speaking to community input, one speaking to public input. And then in the Parks Master Plan, Initiative Number 7 deals with collaboration. So a lot of our planning documents speak to community engagement, so we want to make sure that we align. So the approach going forward is to first, we know we want to collect resident input, and in doing that, we want to have 2 to 3 meetings with the community. And one of the things that we're after is, how do we get 100% participation? Where are the gaps right now? We're doing this, we're only reaching this many people. So what else can we be doing to reach more? That's what we want to figure out. So we want to identify where those gaps are, and then we want to come up with strategies to close those gaps. We have methods that we're currently utilizing, but we want to, formalize those methods, expand upon them, maybe develop something called a toolkit. And we want to ensure that we're reaching everyone. Social media, mailers, hand-delivered flyers, suggestion cards, emails, special events, virtual meetings, online surveys, developing community partners, et cetera. Those are all ideas that we are floating, but there's more. Everybody responds to and listens to outreach in different ways. People look for their information in different ways. So what we really need to do is find out what all those different ways are. So that's what we're going to be tasking ourselves with. We are creating an ad hoc committee, or going to be creating an ad hoc committee. We're looking for 2 to 3 parks commissioners, along with city staff. And once we begin meeting, we want to research and assess model policies that are out there. We want to, along with, doing outreach and identifying all these tools to reach people. We want to create evaluation mechanisms and metrics to measure how successful we are. And then our ultimate goal is to provide a policy recommendation by the end of 2025. And that concludes my presentation, and I will answer any questions that you have.
We covered a lot in
We did.
the first section and the second section. So I think maybe I can start. Susie, thank you so much for helping to provide a lot of these updates. As it relates to some of the approach and the goals, I think it's important for this commission to be able to, part of our role as a commission is to recommend policy to the city council. And we haven't flexed that power of ours, at least since I've been here on the commission. So in speaking with Vice Chair Zacarias Torres, I also got to meet with Commissioner Jogwe to get their ideas on moving forward this policy. And what is the goal and what is the process for moving us forward? We do so much. Parks and Recs, Public Works does a lot of great work to do a lot of the engagement piece. And so, in working with Susie, we got to look on our charter, our city charter. There was no sort of definition or sort of direction on what community engagement looks like. And we just went through COVID with ARPA funding. We spent millions of dollars on developing our parks. And, I think politicians come and go, but, these processes stay forever. And I wanted to utilize the commission's time to develop a policy that we can recommend to the city council as it relates to, not every capital improvement projects, but community capital improvement projects that are taking substantial amounts of money. And so We have previously, as a commission, already recommended, hey, having an in-person meeting, having these meetings be in language for the gathering feedback on what the vision looks like for a specific project. We talked about mailers, we talked about virtual options. And so there's nothing right now in our current procedures that outlines how, we're spending millions of dollars on these projects. At least for me, I want to make sure that we're following a process that makes sense for Santana. I know other cities have policies in place as it relates to these capital improvement projects, but I don't want to create work for our staff, additional work. I think that there are ways that we can cater specific projects for making sure that we check mark all those things, then going forward with those spending those funds. As it relates to the creation of an ad hoc, this was my intention to just, for the process of continuing this conversation, 2 to 3 commissioners that are interested, Vice Chair Zacarias Torres, Commissioner Jogway expressed interest as well in our conversations. We would just be researching, maybe meeting once a month with Parks and Rec staff to look at what other policies other cities are doing that we can maybe, hey, this works for us, right? Also, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. And so this effort is really to encourage them to drink the water, please. We need feedback from the public. We want you to be engaged. I know folks maybe don't come to the Parks and Recs Commission meeting as much, right? So how are we outreaching to the public to make sure that we're using the tax dollars wisely? And so what are the mechanisms for what success looks like in terms of how we are engaging the public? I also, initially, I had recommended maybe by the end of this year, maybe we can do a year from the start of the meetings of the ad hoc. So I'm thinking if this is approved by this commission, maybe we can start to meet next month, and then a year from that, bring forward a policy, or sooner, if we get that accomplished, bring that forward to the city council for, I guess, hopefully they accept it or reject it. But also including in our monthly commission meetings, because I don't want this to be, hey, I want to be part of the ad hoc. Well, because of Brown Act, maybe monthly, we can have those conversations here on the dais about this is the feedback that we're getting in the ad hoc. I definitely want buy-in from this whole commission. That's the goal, is to engage the public in a community engagement policy for our capital improvement projects where we're making substantial investments. So based off this, that's my motion, is to help approve the creation of an ad hoc.
You would have to bring this back as a business item calendar, which we can do the next week. This is just like informational.
Information. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Well,
so we can definitely do that. But again, we've got the gist of it. Then we can come back maybe our next meeting to, so that you guys can sit on it and,
great.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, great. Are there any other comments or questions on the 2 presentations that we got? Commissioner Nelson?
Yeah, just to follow up on your part of the conversation here. So looking at a lot of this, we have these were given to us, right? I don't think we have an issue with outreach. It's a participation issue. If she can only get 2,400 people to give their input on the city budget, I'm not sure how much involvement you're going to get on the capital improvement project. Rather than doing all the things that we've talked about doing, it's the same procedures. We hit them on the internet. We've sent out flyers and all this. You have to hit them where they're at, right? So for instance, if you look at this picture of the opening day ceremonies, if you gave me a stack of 900 of these at an opening day ceremony, I would probably give you 900 responses that day. You give them a free Slurpee, whatever it is, right? You can get a lot more involvement in when you're there, and that's part of something that they're engaged in, right? going out and trying to get somebody to take their own time to be part of something, that you're not going to get the same involvement. I know we need it. We need to be able to have somebody that's, people's input, because what always ends up happening is after the fact, wait, I didn't know. Well, everybody knew, but you weren't paying attention. So if you've done everything, and you've hit them where they're at and they still don't get involved, that's on them, right? And I think that's something that, I've been in Santa Ana for 25 years plus now, and it's always kind of been that way. People don't really get engaged unless they're mad, they're happy, or somebody's right in the front door, right? So I think that's where we need to kind of focus this. And I agree that we need to try and get some involvement, especially when we're doing these things. The 10th and Flower one, I live right there. I'm sure I got something in the mail. I'm not sure I read it. I'm part of the Parks Commission, right? So whether my wife threw it away or does it really reach everybody? I'm extremely happy with the entire project. The contractor's been great. They've done all kinds of great things. But how do you really engage people and get them to be part of what we want to achieve here? So my 2 cents, but thank you.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Diaz?
So are we allowed to mention or say anything about what was just presented about who we are and the approach? Anything? Can I mention anything about that?
Yeah, you're able to make
Just
any
a
comments you want. It's
question?
just,
So, let's assume this, it's what do you call it, ad hoc. And, you nominated yourself and you nominated Zacarias Torres and you nominated the third one. How about all the others? Are you gonna do alternate? Because I feel left out.
I'm definitely happy to discuss if we need to incorporate in our agenda meetings discussions on the project and where we are. I'm happy to see our structure of our agendas we do meet on a monthly basis.
But
So
isn't that the reason why we're here to discuss? Are we commissioners to discuss? I just feel like it's a small group, and what about everybody else? I honestly feel that there's no need to create a small little tiny group when we're all here to discuss it publicly and let the constituents see, just to be, how could I say, transparent? That's my end, Honestly, I just don't see the need of creating an ad hoc, because everything that Parks and Recs is doing to get the public together, to engage the public, they're doing a good job. They do it at every event. They try to get people's input. They do it in Instagram. They do it in Facebook. They've been doing a great job when we tell them, I suggest we should do this, you should do it that other route. It's been done positively, and they're doing an awesome job. I just still don't understand. Maybe I just don't understand what the purpose of putting a little group aside means. So I want to be a part of it too. She might want to be a part of it too. Nelson might want to be a part of it too. So how is it going to work? Alternating and nominating yourself and nominating Zacarias Torres and nominating someone else? I just don't feel that should be in the process. I understand you're the chair, but I think that that's not transparent as to kind of pushing the rest of us out of it. If they're doing the job, why try to duplicate a group on the side? That's just my intake.
thank you for your comments. Are there additional comments from the commission? Commissioner Nelson?
We did get a pretty extensive presentation on the Browns Act. We didn't do the daisy chain. We didn't do the hub and spoke, right? So I understand. I find that personally that the work that they're doing as far as figuring out what's needed for each community, I think they've done a pretty good job. Can it be brushed up and maybe have some more procedures and protocols in place? But I don't know if that's our spot as a commission to really, try and tell them how to do their job. We can give them suggestions as a committee or commission, but I'm not sure, getting to the nuts and bolts of how that's, if you want to set a policy, that, I get it, but I'm just not sure this is the one we really should dive into. But yeah, so.
I think the creation of the policy is really to provide direction to staff. Ultimately, the city council can just throw it. They don't have to necessarily agree with the policy. But also the discussion on having to craft a policy is in no way trying to dig at our staff that they're not doing a great job. They are doing a great job. And we have been doing a lot of engagement, as was listed in Susie's presentation. What I'm trying to say in having a policy is defined. Currently in our city code, there is no definition of what community engagement looks like. There's various ways, right? It's like, hey, we're going to put up a sign. Does the whole city need to actually agree with wanting to say where this sign is? No. But if we're spending millions of dollars on capital improvement projects, I think that we should have, as recommendations as we have made on this dais, how folks should be engaged, how our staff shouldn't be engaging the public. We make recommendations, but at least for us to point to city staff and say, hey, we voted as a commission, these are some of the recommendations that we think that you should be doing as it relates to outreach. So it helps provide staff. Currently, there are no standard, there's no procedures that are in place. And so part of our role as a commission is to recommend policies. Part of the Brown Act is to not have these conversations to no more than 3. I did tie in Commissioner Zacarias Torres. I tied in Commissioner Jagwe in relationship to wanting to move this policy forward. I debriefed with them. I communicated the goals of, hey, we can work on this policy that can move us forward. And there are gaps, right? We're doing a great job, but there's also gaps. And as it relates to the process, there are ad hocs that have been created, at least at the city council level, as it relates to moving this conversation forward within a year. An ad hoc helps to meet with city staff to have those discussions. Maybe it's just an hour once a month to have updates on doing some of this research. These commission meetings can be a place where the city staff is able to present to the Parks and Recs Commission, hey, this is what was discussed. Let's have an open dialogue conversation here. Because not a lot of city business gets done up here outside of what's being presented to us. An ad hoc committee is a space where folks can continue to follow up and make sure that we're moving the needle, as was discussed. There's also an opportunity to engage the public. So, we do have folks from the public here, but in what ways can we go out to the public and gather their feedback on what community engagement looks like? So in terms of where can a commissioner plug in, it's if you are part of the ad hoc meeting here monthly, we would incorporate something in our agenda that would say ad hoc committee updates and discussion, where maybe the ad hoc is not voting on anything. The commission would be ultimately the one to vote on something that we're moving forward with. And then plus the community engagement, 2 to 3 meetings outside of these chambers to gather additional feedback on like what this community engagement policy is. It's all, at least for me, in terms of each of us can take on a policy issue. You're all more than welcome as commissioners to feel empowered to take on a policy issue, right? Like, hey, I want to do this. Great, do it, right? So it's not just because I'm chair, it's because I care about wanting to put into practice what we already do. We do such great work on outreach. I just want to make sure that we have a policy in place. Whether the city council is going to take it up, maybe not, but at least for me, I feel like I'm doing my due diligence to be able to have an impact, at least on a policy front. We'll go with Commissioner Jagwe, and then we'll go to Commissioner Nelson.
It's actually unrelated for Susie. A quick one. Are there going to be lights at the basketball court at the 10th and Flower Street?
Yes,
Okay.
not just lights, must go.
A what?
I'll let Hawk answer
If
that.
you've been out to Geraldo Moyet, it'll be the same lighting that's out there.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay. That was it, actually.
Commissioner Nelson, and then Vice Chair Zacarias Torres.
I know we don't have a formal policy in place, but you did say that there was some like procedures that were kind of followed, but not necessarily
Yeah,
written down. kind of-
exactly. It's, standard operating procedures, even though it's not formally written down.
So I guess my question is, I mean, and just to understand, like, can we create this, not policy, but a checklist
SOP.
of things that you need that, and not have to be form a complete, run it by the city council? Can they not do that as a agency by themselves?
Each agency can create their own, administrative guidelines, and that's something Susie and her team has done when it has come to outreach. And that's something when I first came in and Deputy Director Pagano is, we want to make sure we outreach. And as Susie's team started to get bigger and build, we started doing that more and more.
So, I mean, I guess the question to me is, rather than waiting a year, if you already have some of these general procedures in place, why not put them together where us as a commission and everybody else can see them? And then they're already basically ready to be implemented. If we want to adjust them, then we can probably do that without having a meeting once a month and going through the whole process. I mean, I love the intent behind the idea of figuring out a way to get policy and things in place. But if we have to wait for like you said, I mean, we've named parks that weren't even taken by the council. So why would we, if this policy, we need to get something in place soon, because there's a lot of things going on. And if we need involvement, by the time money runs out, there may not be any reason to say, what do we get? It's over. So, is that something that we could entertain?
I think absolutely. And this is coming up a lot right now. We're getting a lot of, but I didn't know. And like, not sure how. So because this seems to be surfacing a lot, this is a great opportunity to really kind of zoom out and go, okay, what's really going on here? What are we doing? Why isn't the information getting to where it needs to go? Is it, something that our team's doing, or is there something about the chain of, the soup can chain that's broken? I don't know, but the whole how we get information out is something that we're looking at anyway. So in a lot of ways, what you asked for is right in line with, things that have been coming up. How we approach it, how we do it, I am open to however you want to do it.
Great. And I see Commissioner Diaz. Commissioner Nelson, I think that's in terms of in terms of our policies and procedures, I think that's the goal, right? If it's how are we changing, if what is outlined that you've already been doing for the Parks and Rec Commission to kind of oversee some of that and get support to finalize something, I think that's the outcome. The outcome is that we want folks to be involved in the process. Maybe the ad hoc is not a process to get it there, but the outcome is that we want folks to be able to provide feedback. So are you able to have a policy and procedures in place that the commission can review maybe on a monthly basis?
I mean, absolutely we can. And like I said, some of our biggest outreaches, and you've heard it from other staff, is, we've been having budget come to they're at all our events. We've had them come to our championship games. We've had them at the zoo. We're doing, other than going doorstep to doorstep, like, Commissioner Nelson said, or going out to mentor events, that would be, I guess the term would be guerrilla marketing, and that's something that, we could look into maybe on a Saturday or Sunday going out, main place mall or going out to an event, but we do as much as we can, but it's like they've got to do it, and it's unfortunate they don't. But I mean we're always thinking of ideas how to do it, but I mean we can put together what our procedural guideline is within the agency. Absolutely.
I'm okay with having that discussion to finalize a procedure for Parks and Recs as it relates to the outcome. Is we want folks to be involved in the capital improvement projects that we're funding. So
Sure.
I'll take your, I'll come back with Commissioner Diaz and then go to Commissioner Nelson. But thank you for your comment, Commissioner Nelson.
Okay, so I have two things. In regards, thank you for, being considerate and changing it a little bit. Regards to the ad hoc, I just wanted to mention that if you have an ad hoc, there's going to be staff costs. And with the budget that we have, I would, try our best for additional costs not to be there. Let's say if you have an ad hoc, you're going to require staff time. So it's paid time that they could be doing perhaps something else. That's one. And the second one that I have, it's Neighborhoods Initiatives needs to start working together with Public Works. It's Neighborhoods Initiatives go to every single neighborhood. At every neighborhood meeting, perhaps if there's something mentioned in regards to what's happening in their neighborhood, like a new park, if it's done, if they meet monthly, if something is mentioned monthly in regards to, this is a small update. So that's giving the word out. Right now, it's not mentioned every month, but perhaps having Public Works meet with Neighborhoods Initiatives and you guys kind of work together, because that kind of happened with my neighborhood, in which we thought we were going to have a neighborhood meeting, and then it was for the Green Project meeting, but then their neighborhood meeting ended up getting canceled, and we all didn't go because we thought the Public Works meeting was also canceled. So it's kind of like the right hand is not talking to the left hand.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so I think it's just a matter of having city staff communicate with each other. Like there was initiatives with Public Works and they with presidents too, like reaching out to Comlink, in the Comlink, this is what's happening in your neighborhood. Please grab a flyer and the park's information is there. Just an idea.
Is it okay if I go with Vice Chair Secretary Torres, and then we'll go to Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you. I had a question about the Jerome Outdoor Library. Do we have an update on when that will be completed?
Ooh, I wish I had my schedule in front of me. Okay.
Yes, it is scheduled to be completed early August as of right now, and that was the update that Executive Director Sternberg did give to us. So we're looking early August, hopefully sooner in late July.
And then, what is the lot on First and Mountain View currently being used as?
Right now, I believe the little building is where the water department is keeping water meters for their meter conversion that they're doing right now. We're talking about potentially once that program is, nearing completion and the building is cleared out, I believe, I wish George was to her. I think we're looking at occupying it, but we haven't settled in on how.
Okay. And then do we have a completion date for the first splash pad?
Our plans right now, unless you wanted to, okay. Our plans are about 50% complete. What is the schedule? I believe that the contract documents are going to be completed by July, August, and then it will go out to bid. Usually from the time you bid to the time you break ground is about 4 months, and I think they're looking at breaking ground probably in January.
Okay.
So
So it won't be ready for this summer?
not this summer,
Okay.
no.
Okay. And then my final comment regarding the policy conversation. I honestly don't care how it gets done. If it's here, whatever, ad hoc, no ad hoc. But my main concern is just to institutionalize policy where there is none in place. If it happens here, that's great. Thank you.
Commissioner Nelson?
Just my last thought on, I mean, it all starts with community involvement, right? I mean, so whatever we're doing, we're trying to get either feedback or we're trying to get people to help us get something out to get feedback, right? So I think for me, and being part of youth sports in Santa Ana for quite a long time, I would suggest that, you know, whether it's youth sports or whatever activity it is that we have, I wouldn't expect us to have to send a bunch of people from the city to go out to an event. But if we build a rapport with the people that are volunteering and are the fabric of our community, whether it's sports level or if it's whatever other activities that are being done in the parks, the whatever. I mean, if we can garner their support to be able to help with this or with whatever it is, that's where we need to build the relationship. Because the relationship is built as part of the fabric of our community. I think that's where we have a disconnect. We have a community, but it's never really connected to the city. And it's not a city's fault. It's probably not the people's fault. I think it's what's happened for the last umpteen years is how we operate, right? So until we figure out ways to get the community involved at the levels of volunteer, because any neighborhood association, there's 3 people that probably are involved and run that. And then everybody else shows up for the donuts or whatever, right? So you got to find those 3 people and then get their other people and then go to the sporting events or hand out these, just drop my, hey, the president of whatever basketball, here you go. Take these and can you help me? You're going to have more success with that because you're including them as part of the community and there's creative ways to get things accomplished. I think that's the way that we need to approach it from my experience. If you don't have if you give something for free, a free fun run, you're probably not going to get the same commitment and involvement as you would want, right? People are going to sign up. Oh, I don't have to go. You put $5 on it, people show up and they value it, right? So I think that's the same thing that we have with just community involvement as a whole, is it has to have some sort of value and be driven by the community. We can put all the policy in the world. People aren't going to open up their water bill. They're just not going to open up their water bill, right? So I think that's my last bit of suggestion on that. You're right. I think we just need to figure out a solution to figure out some way to have procedures in place to kind of uniform everything and do our best from the city, the commission, but ultimately it's going to come down to the community to be involved, right? So how do we help them get involved?
Yeah, if I could just make one more comment. You know, when we were developing the Parks Master Plan and we were doing the community outreach process, there was a strategy called Community Partners that we did, where we reached out to 5 community-based organizations, giving them information for them to share because they could get to another level of communications that we could get to. And I'm thinking that maybe that might be one of our strategies. And in thinking of the 10th and Flower Park, we met with Willard Neighborhood Association nearly every single meeting for I don't know how long. We even went to a number of Washington Square neighborhood meetings. We had a sunshine meeting where we delivered notices to every household within 1,000 feet. We have banners hanging on the side that say, new park coming soon. And yet I had someone come to me and say, I didn't know. And, you know, how? And, you know, you don't know that you have a neighborhood association that you can go to for information. There's lots of different ways of getting to this, but it's,
If it's any consolation, one of my son's friends lives in the apartment complex right overlooking the street that's been demolished. And he's like, I don't know what's happening. I'm like, what do you mean you don't? They're putting a park in? And he's like, well, I didn't know about that. But once I told him what we were doing and showed him, they're ecstatic, but they just didn't know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's unfortunate, but.
Commissioner Jagwe?
Just maybe I touch on at the end of commissioners' comments, but I had an idea where maybe if we asked, for example, like the sports leagues, if they can we hand them out flyers, hey, if they get back 20 surveys, then we can give them a discount on their reservation. Like they'll get a free hour or something like that, or something like, I don't know. To generate them to actually be involved with the surveys and then incentivize, like put something for them to actually do it. So just a thought. I don't know if it would work, but just an idea.
We're not taking formal decisions today on this discussion, but this is an attempt at having a discussion on a policy change. And so I guess the first of, we haven't had a policy discussion. So I think bear with me as we have this discussion. And part of it is to work through and I want all of us to be in support as much as all of us are in support of funding more parks and recs, right? And so I think based off your discussions, Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Nelson, and I guess getting the feedback from, we haven't had these discussions in public, right? So having this public discussion for having everyone support, I think bringing these conversations back on a monthly basis, or we alternate meetings with Park Services. What is your suggestion on having to develop a procedure outlining what we just discussed?
I think we can, as you guys said, come back the next time our parks planning comes back, and we can come up with, this is what our current procedures are in the agency, and then y'all can see it. And if you guys have any suggestions of how maybe we can improve it, we can implement those. I get what y'all saying about doing a policy, but I think we can do it in-house right now, because Susie and her team, my team, we get out there, we try to push it, we push it. The Santa Ana Zoo Free Residence Day, I'm going to really push on the next one coming up, because that's, we're churning through it. Our events, the fun run, we're going to be pushing it there as well too. Hell, even at Brew at the Zoo, we're going to do it. I don't know how many residents are going to be there, but if they're a Santa Ana resident, we're going to push. And then I'll get with our reservations team to see what we can come up with, maybe working with some of our youth and adult organizations that do occupy our fields. But Commissioner Nell said, they've got to do it. Because you can lead, like I said, you can lead the horse to water, but we can't make them drink. So again, a lot of great discussions here, but I think we can come back in 2 months, and Susie and Tim, we can all outline, this is what our current, procedures are, within the agency, if that'll work for you guys.
Yeah, we're not taking a formal decision,
No.
but
But again, if that's what I'm saying,
I think, we all agree up here. At least I agree, Don.
I hear you all, and I agree with you guys.
Get community. Commissioner Diaz?
Susie, I have a quick question. I wanted to find out, is this the first in Monteview Park? Is that where the new home development is gonna be?
Yes. Yeah.
Have you been able to reach out to any of the developers to see if they can help with the funding of the park, since it's gonna be very adjacent to the new home?
Yeah, we actually met with them several times, and developers, as they are looking to see what they could get from us.
No, it should be the
Yeah.
other way around. Okay, then
So-
we're gonna have to fence it, and they're not gonna get a key.
Yeah, we will be collecting residential development fees when they pull permits for their project.
Okay.
And, maybe we have a meeting with planning to see if we can get a development agreement to dedicate them. towards the development of that park. That's a
Yeah, but
possibility.
The homes would be, I think, priced over the 900s. And so it would be just, fair for them to share some of the costs since the park is gonna
Oh, yeah.
benefit most of the people
Absolutely.
in new homes.
Absolutely. It's only going to
Yes.
add value to them.
That's one question. And my other question is, the 10th and Flower, was the city able to obtain the parcel that has a home in it, or the homes?
That last parcel, 849, I believe, not yet.
Okay.
I don't believe they are ready to sell.
Oh, so this is the little square right next to the, like right on the bottom? Is this the parcel here? Oh, the white one?
It's on the corner of the alley in Penn Street.
A center.
No, the white one is the last, there were three properties there. We
Yeah.
were able to acquire the two, but the white one are long-standing Santa Ana residents and they weren't, our CDA Executive Director Margarcia did attempt, but they weren't ready to sell or talk about it at this moment. But
Okay.
again, it doesn't mean that could change in the future,
Mhm.
but as of right now, it was a no.
Oh, okay. I just thought that one in particular was gonna be like a center or something.
No, it's a house.
Okay, Thank you.
So-
Thank you, Susie.
Great. Any additional comments on this topic? Thank you so much, Susie.
All right. Good evening. We'll see you next time.
We are powering through. Last but not least, we have our Deputy Director, Tim Pagano, to give us an update on our Parks, Recreation, and Community Services staff report.
Good evening, Chairperson Herrera and members of the commission. I want to congratulate everybody. We're now in city council timing, so that's great. I have a brief 52 slide presentation
Thank you for
followed by a 24 slide. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to keep my comments brief today just because I think you guys are all aware of all the great stuff that recreation and community services is doing. I've kind of mirrored the approach that my park services and general services teammates have done and created a PowerPoint so that we can go through the highlights a little bit more rather than me just going through what you guys have probably already read in terms of the staff report and everything. A couple things I did want to touch on, seeing that the budget is the thread that has kind of held this meeting together. A couple things because I'm a little bit closer to the numbers. In terms of your question, Commissioner Nelson, our parks reservations is about $125,000 over what our projected revenue was. So for this year, we projected $300,000 worth of revenue. Currently, to date, we're at $425,000, and that's still not even close to the end of the fiscal year. We still have a full quarter left before we actually get the end of the fiscal year numbers and everything like that. In terms of revenue generation beyond what what Executive Director Hawk Scott has mentioned, your recreation and community services team is putting together a facility rental policy that will optimize our space within our community centers so that it will be easier for our residents to actually rent our facilities on the weekends. We're also looking to mirror what we did with the stadium and allow alcohol to actually take place in private events that take place within our center. So we think that will actually add value to our residents' experience in possibly quinceañeras, anniversary parties, baby showers, that type of stuff. So we're looking to optimize the ability to increase revenue there. In addition, we've spent a lot of time, especially out of the community engagement section, to really start pushing our contract classes a little bit more in front of the community because we really feel that that's a under optimized revenue stream that we think that we can enhance and add value to. So just wanted to touch base on there just because I think that those are opportunities that we're currently pursuing and just wanted to kind of follow up on that because I know that there's been a lot of discussion around it. Hiram, let's go. Athletics section. So I'm just going to go straight off the bullet points because again, I'm sure there's going to be questions, but just want to share all the highlights that have been happening in each one of our sections. Our athletics section, our boys youth basketball program just concluded. We had 46 teams, 140 junior NBA skill challenge participants, where we again worked with the Clippers to be able to do a skills challenge. So that was really exciting. Our girls youth basketball program is currently underway. We have 190 plus participants, which is probably the largest girls program in the county, and we're very proud of that. And our new volunteer coaches clinics are taking place right now and leading up to the actual season. Our Santa Ana track meet is going to be taking place April 13th at Santa Ana College. That's always a fun one for all the kids to get out and participate in all the heats and flights that exist with all the track and field events. And our adult kickball league, which I know Chairperson Herrera, you've participated in the past, third year running? No? Okay. We're still dealing with an injury. Growing participation, and we're now in our third season. So we're looking forward to bringing that back to the community. If we go to the next one, we're obviously highlighting our adult co-ed kickball program and also our girls basketball program, which takes place at Jerome and Salgado Recreation Centers.
I just want to real quick, go back that slide, Hiram. And just take a look at where that young lady's shooting that free throw. You know, these are the type of experiences and the partnerships we have. And I do want to highlight what the team does. I mean, if you guys don't recognize that, that is crypto.com arena. And some of our young ladies do get to go out there and participate. So that's something we're very, very proud of the partnerships we do have.
Moving on to our aquatic section, our spring lap swim and aqua fitness has relaunched at Jerome Pool. That has just happened over the last couple of weeks, so we're really excited to invite people back out to the aquatics facilities. All right, excellent. In addition to the bullet points, our aquatics section actually was recognized by the aquatics the CPRS aquatics section, which is all the aquatics programs statewide, as having the most innovative program for our emerging lifeguard leader program for this last year. So wanted to make mention of that. Our Silver Splash membership is free for seniors, 50 plus. Lifeguard training program, we have the emerging lifeguard leader program that is taking place on Tuesdays. That's where we get to try out potential new lifeguards and for them to actually see what our system is all about. So it's a really good recruitment opportunity for us and for us to get to know our guards prior to us maybe offering a conditional offer of employment. On-site hiring fairs. We had one just a couple weeks ago, and the one that we had for next week was canceled just because we were hearing a lot of feedback that people were going to be preparing for spring break and they were closing down for that time. So we're actually looking at postponing it to a later date and time in April, but we're looking forward to inviting people out to apply for some of our summer positions. Here we are. We have a snapshot of our emerging lifeguard leader program that is taking place over at Jerome Community Center Pool. If you haven't been over by Jerome Recreation Center, it's gotten a facelift with the new paint and new mural, the new windscreen that is around the Jerome Park pool. It's very, very exciting. So we're looking forward to this summer season. Our community engagement section, would like to give a shout out to our community engagement supervisor and coordinator, Corey Lance and Demi Perez. They actually were selected to present a workshop at our statewide conference this last 2 weeks ago. Very well received, and just wanted to make mention of that. They submitted and they were accepted, and that's what we consider an honor in the field. So we're very happy for them. Our Cultura magazine expanded subscriptions are still taking place. Community outreach, obviously, also another thread today. We've really done a intentional job as far as keeping ourselves connected to the community, and that just happens to increase month over month with our social media engagement, our website content, making sure that everything is speaking to each other, so things are as up to date in real time as possible. As mentioned before, our major partnerships, we have Santa Ana Nights with the Ducks, with the Clippers, and the Orange County Soccer Club. I think the Clippers is coming up soon next week, next Saturday. So we have a family night. So through our teen programs, we've actually extended the invitation to all of our teens' families to join us, in addition to our youth basketball program is going to be going out for the Santa Ana Clippers night. Our contract class, as I mentioned that before, is an opportunity for revenue generation. We are planning on having 150 plus summer sessions available for this summer. So we're definitely increasing our programming there so that the community has access to all of our community centers and the classes that we intend on bringing there for the summertime, our busy season. Just a couple pictures. Corey and Demi actually did a presentation over at OSHA for their community engagement class. We were actually excited to be invited out by Mrs. Moet. She actually runs the class, and so we made the connection via the the park ribbon cutting ceremony, and so they were invited out to speak to the class about community engagement and how to do it. And then off to the right-hand side, that is a picture of a participant from MIT who joined us for the George Upton All Access Playground ribbon cutting ceremony. So our community engagement team has been very active with ribbon cutting ceremonies lately, and that's exciting because that means we have a lot of new assets that we're installing into our park spaces. Our health and wellness section, the Recreato program, is doing fantastic. We're getting a lot of great feedback from the community. Probably another opportunity, Commissioner Nelson, for us to get word out about things that are happening out in our spaces, especially because we target parks and areas where it's kind of park deficient. So again, they're not around a community center. So that's kind of our mechanism to keep them engaged with what's happening at our centers and through our programming and everything. Wilderness clubs, hikes, whale watching, I think is taking place April 9th. So that's right around the corner, and we're still doing outdoor adventures. Community gardens, 424 participants in composting and gardening. And in addition to that, our community garden hours, now that daylight savings time is gone, is starting to pick back up again. So we're really excited to invite everybody out to the garden spaces as daylight continues to go later and later into the day. And of course, we have free fitness classes, primarily out of Roosevelt Walker Community Center, circuit trading, badminton, and HIIT workouts as well. There's our March workshops for the garden, demonstrated on the flyer, and then our Madison Park pop-up that we also tag teamed with Zoomy for a caravan to make sure that we're engaging the folks out on the east side of town. Our senior services section, they've been going everywhere lately. They've been going to Disneyland, the Ronald Reagan Library. They've been all over Southern California, and I kind of jealous when I hear that they're out and about again. But beyond just the excursions, we have tons and tons of center programs, 15 plus classes that include Tai Chi, English courses, fitness, and art programs. Our congregate lunch program is about 2,009 meals served per month, which you extrapolate that, it's about 110 to 115 people per day that we're serving at both of our senior centers, which is great. That's a good representation of our lunch program. Senior transportation, we currently have 271 seniors registered, and we take them shopping, and we go on excursions, small local trips, and all that good stuff. Our tech and social events, we still are partnering with the library for our Appy Hour. We are conducting karaoke, movie nights, and we obviously have our monthly celebrations that everybody absolutely loves. And I think we have a few pictures of that. Oh, I forgot about SeaWorld. I didn't even remember SeaWorld. Yeah, so SeaWorld, Reagan Library, and Disneyland all within the last 3 months. So like I said, they've been out and about, and that's a picture of our Valentine's Day dance over at, I believe, Southwest Senior Center. Our special events section, we're preparing right now for our Santa Ana Fun Run, which will be taking place May 17th. It's a 70s themed event, so make sure that you're dusting off all your short shorts and tank tops, bell bottoms. I don't know. I don't know how effective I would be running in bell bottoms, but yeah. But we're really excited about that. Like Director Scott said earlier, we are charging for it for the first time, at least in the 5K, which is just to try to get some of that cost recovery back. Again, skin in the game so that when we have 2,000 people register, hopefully we have 1,800 people show up as opposed to having 2,000 people register and only 1,200 people show up. It's a little bit of a cost to us as the agency when that happens, but we're pretty excited. Thus far, I believe we have 20% of our overall registrations filled as of today, and I think we've only been open for registration for about a week or so now. Major events in planning, 4th of July, movies in the park, Chicano Heritage Festival and Fiestas Patrias are currently underway. And then they're also involved in third-party permits. So we've processed about 10 special event permits that support community celebrations and also third-party groups as well. There's our flyer and some snapshots of our TET Festival that took place in January. Our youth and teens services, they've been as equally busy as far as traveling. They've gone to Wicked at the Pantages down in Los Angeles. They've been to a UCI basketball game. And I think just last week they went to Universal Studios. Upcoming for them, again, like I mentioned, is the Clippers night. So they're going to be traveling there on April 5th. And we're hoping to take a good group, especially by including their families, to join us for that particular night. Our esports program, we're excited to share that it is finally all the PCs are in, all the equipment has been dialed in. So we're looking forward to really jumping off there. So it's just a matter of finding the right date and time and making sure that we're advertising it to potential participants. But we're going beyond just the teens. We're also looking for ways to incorporate maybe a parent and me type of programming night, and trying to incorporate those PCs so that it can be, the programming is basically beneficial for the whole family. Our Youth Empower initiative, they hosted the Intergenerational Valentine's Day dance. So it was a senior prom where our teens were able to interact with our seniors and dance, enjoy each other's company, and everybody had a really great time. And we were really excited about the success of that and looking forward to duplicating that in the future. And then our Mariposa Park pop-up program, which is, again, us going out and meeting the people where they're at. We're seeing about 30 plus youth daily. I think that was a misprint on my part, but daily we're seeing that level of engagement over at Mariposa. So we're certainly meeting the community where they're at. Here, there's the picture, I think, installation of our new PCs. I think those are some of the old ones, but we'll get a picture of the new PCs soon. And then our Kids Night Out program was held over at Salgado Community Center. It was a Taylor Swift thing. I think it was called Shake It Off. So that's why we were able to take some of those pictures. The overall impact and community reach, thousands of participants have been engaged across all sections. We've strengthened partnerships with business and sports teams. We're looking at expanding programs, sponsorship opportunities, and accessibility. Two items of note that took place over the last month. On the left-hand side, we worked closely with America Connects. We were one of 6 communities. I think I mentioned this in other commission meetings. We were one of 6 communities in North America that were selected for America Connects Mural Mosaic. And that is exactly what we're looking at Jerome Recreation Center. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's absolutely beautiful. We had about 175 Santa Ana residents contribute a tile that makes up the bulk of the mural mosaic there. And it's really cool because beyond those 175 tiles, there's tiles from all over America and Canada that basically make up the mosaic, and the title of the mosaic is Heart and Home. So it was very appropriate for what we were trying to accomplish through that program. And on the right-hand side, we finally had our installation of our UCI Playful Learning Landscapes installations over at Madison Park. What you're looking at is Parkopolis. This has been a donation that has been in the works since about the end of 2021. In addition to the Madison Park space, we are also going to be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony April 4th at 1 p.m. over at Angels for 2 other installations, which is a How Tall Am I installation and a Loteria installation. The Loteria one is absolutely fun. It's about four different panels that have 3 different game boards, and in the middle is the spinner that decides which card is going to be turned over, and you basically turn your card. And so literally a whole family could be playing, or multiple families could be playing at the same time. It was a great installation for Angels Park, and we're really excited about doing a ribbon cutting on that. Like Susie said, April 5th, we have our Memorial Park Aquatic Center ribbon groundbreaking. That is at 10 a.m. And then if you're still around and in town and you went to that one, we have our Spring Fest, which is our El Salvador open house that is starting at 11. So it's just a trip up rate. And you can be there for our Spring Fest over there to celebrate all the good programming that's happening over at El Salvador. And with that, I will end my presentation and take any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Diaz and then Commissioner Reyes. Commissioner Reyes?
I just have a comment or share my happiness of how amazing this last month and it has been for all of us at the Senior Center Southwest. It's wonderful what they do for us, and this last trip to Disneyland was really, for me, was really magical. Disneyland is accessible for all of us, and but it was so different because at my age, I was surprised how much energy I still had, and how really is a magical place. I thought I was gonna be dead by the next day, but it was just, I felt like a teenager, and the energy of all of us, not just running to get into the rides and just acting like teenagers. It was a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And I know the staff of, the Senior Center at Southwest is amazing. They go out for us. I mean, from the moment you come in, they greet you with, respect and they make you feel cozy, and they keep the place so clean and organized. And so they make it cozy for you, everything they do, they treat us with such respect, that you love to be there. So I'm very, very grateful because it's a gift for me. Personally, because I enjoy it very, very much. And I just hope that with these budget cuts, hopefully we don't get, punched, too hard. So thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.
Commissioner Diaz?
I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to write grants and getting grants. That is very, very helpful. Thank you. Thank you. And also for collaborating with, UCI, and hopefully in the future, we can be able to find more collaborations with other nonprofits or companies. But thank you.
Commissioner Jagwe?
Yeah, amazing work. It's like every time I see it, it's just like, I can't believe all the stuff that we're doing. Quick question: when is that the volunteer coaches clinic for the girls basketball?
I think it may have already taken place because we're about on the cusp of our season starting. So yeah, usually when we go through registration, shortly thereafter, after evaluation night, that's when we're having our coaches clinic.
Would someone be able to volunteer to coach at the clinic without, like say I thought about doing this, like if I wanted to volunteer for the clinic but not coach for the season, can I do that?
I wouldn't see any issues with that. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to help out and run a station and everything, so our coaches are a little bit more familiar with the skill or anything, I think we'd be open to that.
Yeah, and our athletics team, our reservations, athletics team's always looking for coaches, even if, they don't have a team, but to actually go out there and be mentors. So, if that's something you or, someone's interested in, please reach out to us and we can put you in contact with our team or with us to, go out there and mentor our young athletes.
Because I've done that already on like big scale. So I just thought it was something that could be fun.
Yeah.
That was it. Thanks.
Absolutely. Of course. Thank you.
Additional comments? Vice Chair Secretary Torres? We need a button.
Good evening. Do we have any sunshades at the Jerome Pool?
Well, we have umbrellas, right? Because with sunshades, sometimes that's a little bit difficult, especially with the pool deck size, but we definitely have umbrellas.
Okay.
And I think we actually do have a canopy that northeast corner of the actual pool itself. So
Oh, good.
it's under bleach, there's bleachers that are
Mhm.
underneath it. But it's really hard to dedicate a whole lot of space for additional shade and all that type of stuff, but we do have it over there.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something. Oh, okay, good. Because I remember when I was a summer instructor at, for Jerome, we didn't have anything. So everyone was like
Yeah.
trying to go under a tree or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, no, all our lifeguards will have it on stand and then we try to put shade out, but at the same time, we do want to get some sun that does hit the water because it does actually help balance the chemicals and stuff,
Yep.
believe it or
Yeah.
not. So we don't want to shade it,
Right, but then there's, I remember when I was a summer instructor at Jerome, there's an area where like the kids that don't want to swim, they would just try to go under the tree that's outside of the pool.
mhm.
So I'm glad to hear that there is at least an umbrella for them.
Yep.
How has participation at the Roosevelt Walker Study Hall gone?
It's been mixed thus far. I think again, it goes back to what I've found with the Santa Ana community is you have to go through it at least like one time
Mhm.
in an effort before the word of mouth between the community actually, really creates a momentum, right?
Mhm.
And so one of the things that we always say is put it out there once, pause, wait for, that one person or those two people that did show up to talk to their friends. And then before you know it, those two turn into 15, those 15 turn into 25.
Do we have any social media promotion for that?
You know what? It maybe fall under our contract class element. So I know that we're doing a big push in terms of, our contract classes being promoted a lot more and more front facing for the community. But I can make sure that that's part of what our efforts are around too, because it is important. And I value the space that we're creating over there.
Okay, great.
You just saw a post? Oh, great. That's awesome.
Thank you for that. Do we have plans on expanding our study hall program to other community centers?
I think this is a pilot program, to kind of see what the response is from the community. And like I said, for us, we want to make sure that we don't, necessarily walk away from it too quick just because maybe the response wasn't as strong as we initially thought it was. So I think we're going to give it maybe through the end of this year, at least the school year to see what that response is and maybe even pick it back up at Roosevelt Walker during the fall time. And then we'll decide whether or not for the spring, winter, when the bulk of the school year is going to be taking place, is if we want to expand it to other centers just for the opportunity for the community.
Great. And then is there a cost for the workout classes at Roosevelt?
You know what? It depends. If it's a contract class, then yes. If it's done by an outside instructor, then there's usually a fee that's associated with it just because it's their time, their material. They have to get insurance to be able to interact with the community and all that type of stuff. But if it's run in-house, so like kicking with the neighbors. It's a soccer program that takes place. That's run internally by our staff. So anything that is staff-led, it usually comes at a very low to no cost.
What about the HIIT, high intensity training?
You know what? I want to say Karina's actually running that. Yeah, so that would be an internal program. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be quoted on that because we believe that Karina, our recreation specialist out there, is running it, but doesn't hurt to maybe make a visit to Roosevelt Walker and see if there's any costs associated with it.
Can't wait to visit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Deputy Director Pagano, I wanted to thank you for the presentation. Commissioner Nelson.
I saw that there was the girls' participation for basketball was 190. What was the boys? Do you know roughly?
I think it was in the close to 500. Yeah.
46. So times roughly 10.
We were close to 500. They did really, really
Yeah,
well.
that's great. 46 teams. That's great.
Yeah, and it keeps increasing every year. And like I said, the partnership with the Clippers has been phenomenal. So we're very proud to be a part of them, to be honest.
Of course.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you for the presentation. I think it's great that we're adopting the pictures and the slides. That helps digest the information, and if there's additional questions, we can answer. So please continue to do that.
Sure.
I wanted to ask about the contract classes. I think you previously had mentioned this before in the presentation. What is the process for contractors to partner with the city regarding programming?
Sure. I mean, it could be as easy as going to their local community center and inquiring if there's any time or space. And our staff on site could certainly give them the pathway to, do a class submittal, form, right? I think we also have it online so that they can, submit a proposal, and our team in community engagement, which is where our contract classes programs currently says, we'll review it and then engage with the contract instructor to kind of let them know what the process is, because since probably about 2017, SAM insurance has kind of been a major factor in terms of contract instructing, which is sexual abuse and molestation insurance that the contract instructor needs to carry in order for them to come into our centers and everything like that. So we walk them through the process, we get them through the agreement and everything. There's a lot of discussion with RMD, which is our risk management division, and also through the city attorneys, because we have to actually structure an agreement. Anytime that we pay an individual or a business from the city standpoint, we have to have an agreement in place. So we actually go through all those steps in order for us to bring our contract class instructors into our centers.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
And then I also had another question in relationship to, you mentioned the Mariposa Park pop-up. Do you know if in the past we've ever had I've attended some of the events where the youth are skateboarding and like a skateboard competition, or I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm sure that it is, or that's an opportunity for engagement at our new skate parks?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. I think one of the things, at least, and again, I'll speak from a risk management standpoint, skateboarding is one of those more riskier activities in recreation, which is why you'll see them in our park spaces, but you won't see them necessarily monitored, right? Because once you go into the process of monitoring it and putting on a skateboarding either competition or day or event, then the liability gets transferred to us and everything. Yeah, exactly. So that's usually why recreation, divisions steer away from skateboarding, formal skateboarding programs and all that type of stuff. Well, usually contract instructors there's definitely skateboarding contract instructors that we can engage with. And as long as we put them out there in our spaces, that's good, because we're transferring the risk away from us onto the contract instructor and them actually performing the instruction.
And just to add on that, I've had a couple of calls of actually having a skateboard competition at Centennial Park once we get the lights up. So there has been some interest there. And then as we get closer, I will reach back out to them to say, this is our process. So, and again, that is one of the things we have heard and, quite possibly could do.
Cool, thank you. Other than that, I have no other comments or questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
We're at the end. Thank you all. So we'll first start off with Executive Director comments. Executive Director, do you have any closing comments?
Just a couple of announcements. I won't take too long. As we have mentioned, our Santa Ana Fun Run is coming up quick. Right now, it is still on early bird pricing until the 16th of next month. So register early, register fast. It is 70s themed. Our Brew at the Zoo tickets are on sale now. That will be May 10th. So that is a week before the Santa Ana Fun Run. So, make sure you guys get your tickets for that. I know, Chairperson, you had a great time last year. So we hope to see you guys out that. And with our big announcement coming at the zoo, the butterflies will be back May 1st. So we're excited that we're going to be having thousands upon thousands of species from all over the world in there. So we hope to see, not thousands of species, thousands of cocoons that will eventually, but a number of different species from all over the world. And other than that, just, I know it's been a very long meeting, but again, it was very productive. And again, thank you all for your continued support.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Diaz, do you have any commissioner comments?
Just very quick. Thank you very much for doing everything you can to communicate and engage with the community. I really appreciate it. I see a lot of activity in Instagram and Facebook, and I do see many of you guys always out there. Your staff helping out at the different events.
Just real quick, I'll stop you on that. If you guys have not seen, our digital boards are going up at our park. So there will be one at Thornton. There will be one, if you go by Centennial Park, you'll see it. It's right down Edinger. There's one at Santa Ana. At the stadium already, you guys know of. There's one at Thornton, Centennial. I think Portolas, don't quote me on the last 2 or 3, but those are going out to where we can also put out messages to the community on a number of things. So that popped in my head when you said that. So, but next meeting, I will give you a list of where they're all going up, but it's another way to communicate things out to the community. So that popped in my head when you said that.
And bring pictures so you can see how it looks. Okay. Also, as Chairman Herrera mentioned about the skateboards, I would look forward to, I know a couple companies that would like to come and give out skateboards or give out some other merchandise. So, so hopefully, in the future, we can collaborate with more companies. Other than that, I thank you so much and thank you for coming and speaking. Good night.
Commissioner Jagwe?
Sorry, I was looking at the signs that Executive Director Scott showed. It's amazing work. I've a little bit of long meeting, but we are going through a lot of stuff, and I had an idea about the reservations that the lady was talking about. Maybe if we did one day, for example, Wednesday, that was reserved for Santa Ana groups, that could help, or like 2 hours or something like that to kind of incentivize. I know they're already giving Santa Ana residents a cheaper rate for field reservations. So maybe that could be something. But other than that, that was it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Nelson?
I'm going to piggyback on, I didn't catch your name, but regarding, I think I've made it pretty clear from the beginning, I'm all about our youth and their ability to have activities in our community. And I think that's how they get involved and become part of the community. I mean, we've hit on if you kids are in the park cleaning up, they're part of the community, right? That kind of stuff. But I think that we've missed the point a little bit over the last few decades with our youth and our programming, not necessarily from the city standpoint, but I think we've created a situation where kids have no choice but to look for other activities outside of our city, right? And especially in sports. And it really comes from the competitive sports side of things. Kind of is brought up through other conversations and stuff. But then I started looking at I have 2 boys. I have a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. Quick story, the 18-year-old a couple years back wanted to go and play more competitive soccer. So he got on a team that was in Anaheim Hills and ended up going out there and playing. And pretty soon, word of mouth, oh, well, Morgan's doing this. And so next thing I got 3 of them that are now joined the team, right? So, but by the time we were done, I had 7 kids from Santa Ana in my van that only has 4 seats, driving to Anaheim Hills 3 nights a week to participate in an activity that they couldn't find here in Santa Ana. And they were all at that time 16, 17 years old. Some of them have now graduated. One of them I saw at the stadium at a high school soccer game not too long ago. He had work boots on, and he was the one kid that you thought might struggle a little bit in life, right? But he came up to me, and it brought a tear to my eye when I think about it. But he goes, "Thank you for you taking me to those activities," and I'm like, or to play soccer, and he goes, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm working at Glidewell. I'm working in their warehouse, and I'm going to school." I'm like, fantastic. And that never crossed my mind. The kid did not. He was going to go down probably a bad path. But I think that is just an example that I personally have experienced, and didn't think of what the picture was for that, individuals but they've all done something, right? But I think we need to really figure out a way to embrace the fact that competitive sports are part of the process of growing up in any community. And Santa Ana, we're missing that. We do a lot for the recreational, younger guys, but as you become about 10 years old, and I can experience from experience, even as running a baseball organization, that's kind of where they cut off. About 10, 11 years old, they just didn't show up. And it's been proven, scientifically, U13, you either play sports or you don't. Well, I'm not so sure they don't want to play sports. I just don't think we have the things here in our community. And how do we, if it's the participation or if it's the number of participants, as you get older, you have less and less people that want to participate that are here in our community from an age standpoint. So if it's 70% is the threshold, might be tough when you get older, when you're up to U19s. But we also, how many of those kids can we bring back? How can we retain them from going to Anaheim Hills, to Irvine, to wherever? Because I think there's a huge gap, especially for what she's talking about. We need to make sure our kids have activities that keep them motivated. Because let's be fair, the world that we live in is it's just not about recreation. It's about competing, being part of something, being part of a team, being part of what you guys are here doing tonight, working, that's what it's about. So how do we keep that going? Because I think if not, we're going to end up losing kids, continue to lose them. I think we've done it for 30 years plus. And I think we need to figure out a way to, if we want to create a policy, I think we figure out a policy to be able to get our kids more engaged on a regular basis. So that's it. Thank you.
Sure, we can find a procedure. Commissioner Reyes?
I just want to thank you. It was a lot. My brain is very, very tired. It was a lot, and it was wonderful. And it is, again, very proud. The Santa Ana is doing so much, and I'm just very happy. It's just amazing to learn everything that is going on. So thank you very much.
Vice Chair Zacarias Torres?
No comments. Thank you. Have a good evening.
I will have the last comments. Today's conversation was really just an exercise. The outcome was really to get us to have a procedure that engages the public in our capital improvement projects. You come here to the dais with your plan, and then obviously the feedback of the commission is important to me to have us all be on the same page as for the goal and the outcome. So happy to work with the executive director on moving that conversation forward with this whole commission. The other was we do have our next commission meeting at New Hope Library. So I'm in thinking about the topic of the night is community engagement. How, I think thinking through some of the outreach strategies to let the community center know, or the attendees of the community center, maybe it's going through the programming, letting them know of like the commission meeting. So then that way they're able to provide feedback to this commission and staff on like maybe, their experiences or their comments towards our commission meetings. So I encourage some of the promotion at the New Hope Library. So those are my comments for tonight. And thank you all so much. The next Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 24th at the New Hope Library at 5:30 p.m. Before the commission, I hereby adjourn this meeting at 9:17. We're here doing business.